Heard throughout the racing world, rookie sensation Danica Patrick has backed up the hype as the pole sitter in Kansas on this 4th of July weekend. Danica has lit the fuse, so strap in and get ready for the boom. Major League open wheel racing, which has been around almost as long as the automobile itself, is truly an American sport, having gotten its start on the many local dirt ovals that dot this great country of ours. Now, almost 100 years later, the IndyCar Series is in America's heartland for the 4th of July weekend. Kansas Speedway, a state-of-the-art 1.5-mile track that's seen either an American driver or team win every race held here, including last year's thriller, the second closest finish in IndyCar Series history.
Vitor Mira drops back just a bit now. He pulls up alongside and at the line. Whoa! Buddy Rice takes the win.
With Rahal Letterman drivers sweeping the top 3 spots in qualifying, one wonders if pole sitter Danica Patrick can today write a new chapter in the sport's 100-year history. Stay tuned to ESPN and find out. It's all next. The green flag is out and we are off and racing. Dan Weldon has just won the Indianapolis 500. 2005 IndyCar Series is off. And a happy 229th birthday, America, as we greet you from the heartland of this great nation. We have a slice of Americana for you today, complete with families, fireworks, and plenty of pageantry. We are expecting a capacity crowd at this great facility, including some of our nation's servicemen and women. And we welcome you to Firestone Race Day here at beautiful Kansas Speedway. Hello once again, everyone. I'm Todd Harris. Well, it is a Rahal Letterman barrage. They have kept up the momentum that they had from last year in that photo finish where Buddy Rice edged out teammate Vitor Mira. Now add in another piece to the puzzle, Danica Patrick. That's right, she has the pole for Kansas. What an impressive performance off the heels of her tremendous showing at the Indianapolis 500, where she became the first female ever to lead a lap at the Indy 500. And then in qualifying, she goes out and lays down a 2:14.668, just edging out her teammate, Buddy Rice. Win a pole, famous for a day. Win a race, famous for life. We'll find out what she does with it. Right now, let's check in with Dr. Jerry Punch.
Well, thanks, Todd. Not since Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz have we seen such a whirlwind surrounding the fortunes of a daring young woman here in Kansas. And Danica, you captured the headlines and the hearts of America way back in May when you were one squiggle away from being the pole sitter at the greatest spectacle in racing. You've done it here this weekend. What does this mean for you?
It's very satisfying. I was almost as nervous before this qualifying as I was for Indianapolis, because when I have the possession of a pole-capable car, I want it to be a pole car. So, you know, I was nervous and I wanted to make sure that I went out there and gave it all and didn't make mistakes. And, you know, I was just nervous. So, but it pulled through and the whole team pulled through. I really shouldn't have doubted them, should I?
Starting up front, one thing, staying there, something else. What's the key to being there at the end of 300 miles?
Well, I think that this is a momentum track, and I think that you need to, kind of like Indianapolis and lots of the big tracks, you need to get through traffic quickly, not to get caught up with lap traffic and or with somebody that's in front of you that isn't as fast as you are. So I think it's going to be a matter of being smart, but not losing your momentum out there.
Hey, thanks for your time. Good luck today.
Thank you.
Well, this could be an historic day when one determined daughter outshines 21 other sons in the starting field. With 2 of those sons, here's Vince Welch.
Well, Doc, last year only 51 ten-thousandths of a second separated these 2 men at the finish line. Buddy Rice winning this event and Vitor Mira finishing runner-up. In fact, it was the second closest finish in IndyCar history. They were about this close at the finish line. Buddy, we know that teamwork plays an integral role in getting the cars set up appropriately, but how about once that green flag flies, what's the strategy of teamwork at that point?
Well, really, I mean, unlike some of, you know, like with the guys that can cup and stuff, there's really not a whole lot of team strategy that goes into it. It's kind of everybody for themselves. And one good thing is we got all 3 teammates up front, so that might actually help us. Kind of like what happened last year with Vitor and I running together for the last 20 laps. It was good to have your teammate there on the outside. You knew what he was going to do, and we were going to, you know, make sure we did it cleanly. And I think that's what's going to happen here today. But, you know, this is a long race. It's a handling track, and we could string out. Each one of us has a little bit different setup on the car, so hopefully all 3 of us can stay up there. We'll have to wait and see.
Vitor, the team finished 1-2 here last year. Now you've taken the top 3 spots in qualifying. Why is Rahal Letterman so good at Kansas Speedway?
I think it's a combined thing. I mean, we work so much here, and not only on the 1.5 miles, but everywhere. But I think 1.5 miles we were paying off pretty good. The thing is, I mean, even improved this year, having 3 cars and Menards, Jones, Mandeville coming on board for us since the beginning of the year. We have a triple of the information at the same amount of time. So that's what, I think that's what is making good. And also Honda is giving us, I mean, plenty of power. So that's what, it's a whole combination.
Rahal Letterman incredibly strong as they get ready to go today. Jamie?
Well, Vince, Danica Patrick certainly has a strong support group behind her. It's her family, her mom, her dad, her sister, and her fiance, Paul Hospenthal. Yes, I'm sorry to say Danica Patrick is going to become a wife later this year. And Paul, I know you had no prior knowledge of racing coming into this when you started dating Danica. What is it like being the man in her life?
Well, that's right. Yeah, I'd never seen a race before, so it's interesting for sure, but, you know, I'm just out here to support the person that's going to be my wife, and it wouldn't matter what she's doing for work. So it's racing today. I
know she was nervous qualifying yesterday. How was she this morning when she woke up?
Not too bad this morning. She's always a little nervous every day, but I think she's just the right amount of nervous.
And we'll talk to her mom, Bev Patrick, we've seen many times, shedding tears. Bev, what does 4th of July weekend usually mean to your family?
Well, it's usually another race weekend for sure. We've been racing for, 10, 11 years now, so racing's just a part of our life, and it seems to come with holidays and sunny summer days. So, just happy to be doing this Indy Racing League.
Well, this is certainly the biggest time in Danica's life. Her family will be anxiously watching as she tries to take home her first IndyCar win. Todd?
All right, thank you very much, Jamie. And just an update, TJ Patrick, Danica's dad, is here, but when it gets close to race time, he practically goes into witness protection. He goes into hiding and gets nervous. You want to get involved? Put down the brat and log on. Will Danica Patrick win this weekend's race in Kansas? Log on to ESPN.com. Get involved. We get set to go green when we come back. And we welcome you back to Kansas Speedway for the Argent Mortgage Indy 300, and we wish you all a very happy 4th of July. It's a very nice day outside if you like warm temperatures in the heartland of America. We are almost set to go with the Indy Argent 300. The drivers are on the grid, getting ready to climb into their cars, including our pole sitter, young Danica Patrick, the rookie sensation for Team Rahal Letterman. She has gone where no woman has gone since 2002 when Sarah Fisher had the pole, the first woman to do that. But Danica Patrick today will try to further the cause even further as she tries to pick up her first ever IndyCar win. And what the headlines that will be if she can do just that. It's now time to salute this great country with the playing of our national anthem.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tony DePardo with a little help.
And our thanks to 93-year-old Tony DePardo doing the honors for our national anthem today at Kansas. Glad to have my colleague Scott Goodyear with me. Well, Scott, the question I think everyone wants to know across America, can Danica win today?
Todd, I really think she can. She's got the right team with Rahal Letterman. She's back in her comfort zone of driving on this 1.5 mile racetrack. You know, the key thing for her, she said to me the other day, I just need to build my confidence. And I think this last practice session that we had certainly did that for her. She looked pretty racy out in the racetrack.
She came out of Richmond last week relatively unscathed, finishing in the top 10. This is a completely polar opposite track, but you still have to be very careful.
Give her credit for both Texas and Richmond because she didn't have the car, but she made sure that she was out there finishing the racetrack. Here, it's all about drafting. It's running side side by side, keeping your foot on the gas. That's the key thing here in Kansas.
No question about it. Well, we have had incidences, though, where it has not worked out. This is last year's finish with Vitor Meira and Buddy Rice. They go neck and neck. Now, you can go 2 wide here, Scott, but it seems like when you go 3 wide, that's when the problem starts.
Look on the top side. 55, Kotsky Masura tries to make it 3 wide going into turn 1. Can't get the job done. It narrows up through there, ends up in a big crash.
2 years ago, Felipe Giafone, who were right on board, gets tangled up with Dan Weldon.
The key thing here, though, you have to run in your grooves all the way through the turn. There's almost some lines in there from when they've paved the racetrack, and you have to be cautious to make sure you stay in your lane. Brian Barnhart in today's meeting said, guys, it's all about you. Take respect out there to each other, and you end up finishing this race.
Well, this is a great opportunity also after Richmond as we come to this beautiful speedway, 55 feet wide, for a lot of the big names to maybe regroup.
You know, they have to. You know, last week at Richmond, we had a lot of big names actually falling out of the race. Look here, Sam Hornich Jr., car was fast all night. Just came around him in turn 1 and 2 and ended up having a crash. Here, Tony Kanaan, who hasn't crashed in 2 years, at Nazareth in 2003, almost takes out the leader here with Elio Castroneves going through this sort of situation here with Darren Manning. You know, all these crashes from these big names, it's just not a night that these guys were actually very focused sometimes.
No question about it. We have got a great race on tap for you today. It should be very good, but look at the parity here at the IndyCar Series. Dan Weldon winning the Indy 500 with a Honda. Thomas Scheckter gets the win for Chevy at Texas, and Elio Castroneves last week has his Toyota on top of the podium at Richmond. Right now, let's send it back down to pit row and our Dr. Jerry Punch.
Thank you very much, Todd. As you mentioned, points leader Dan Weldon, almost invincible early in the year, winning 4 of the first 5 events on the year, including 2 on mile-and-a-half tracks like Kansas. But this weekend, yesterday, you struggled finding the handle here. Why?
I don't think it was a handling issue, and I don't think it was a Honda issue. I mean, Honda continued to give us fantastic engine power. The biggest problem was we just had no speed in the car, and it's something we really got to work on the super speedways, because I get so upset when I qualify so bad, and we really don't understand why, and that's the truth. Certainly Brian Herter and myself have struggled this weekend with speed, but I'm sure we're going to have a good car in race trim. It just makes it very difficult when you got, I mean, Schechter's obviously very quick on these super speedways right now, Eng. So we're up against it, but we'll see what we can do.
You've had a great beginning of the year, and part of that was an incredible month of May. It ended up with you winning the 89th running of the Indianapolis 500, and you were all over the country, in fact, all over the world. Your face, as you travel around the globe, being a media darling, that had to be awfully special. That's a once-in-a-lifetime almost opportunity.
Well, I think I look much better than Danica, so I'm glad they used me for that and not her. But it's no, it was a lot of fun. Winning the Indianapolis 500 was a dream come true for me, but. You know, it would be amazing to win the Indianapolis 500 in the championship in 1 year, and that's what we're working towards. Obviously, the boys have got to continue to work hard, and I've got to continue to work hard to maintain this lead in the points, because right now the series is the best in the world. There's no doubt about it. It's kicking everybody's butt, and I mean, when you watch it, it keeps every fan on its feet. I mean, you look behind me, the stands there just getting full as we speak, so I'm excited for this race.
All right, good luck to you today, and thanks for your time.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Dan Weldon mired back in the middle of the pack. He starts 13th. Got to be awful careful. He is the points leader here as we approach the halfway point of the season. Let's check in with Jamie Little.
Thanks, Dr. Punch. Well, Thomas Scheckter won at Texas, the Panther team's first victory since 2003. He survived this close call, though, early in the Richmond race, but brought the car home to a 4th place finish. Teammate Thomas Enge had set the fastest lap of the race and was charging to the front until penalized for blocking late in the race, a call hotly disputed by the team.
We got screwed. The 91 drove us in the grass. The Rockstar car was going to the front. We were going to win this race, and they made a bad call.
Can Panther, with the power from Chevrolet, create another American revolution on this 4th of July weekend? Well, the Panther resurgence certainly goes both ways. If you're talking about Thomas Scheckter, he's been on a roll, obviously, the last 2 weeks. Here he starts 4th in the 2nd row. But, Thomas, I have to ask you, how long is it going to take to see you in the front today?
I'm not sure. We'll just see how it goes. But, you know, I like to get to the front pretty quickly and not be stuck behind 30. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Well, before that, he said it's going to take about a lap and a half, so be watching the number 4 Pennzoil Panther car. And we'll talk to the man that hotly disputed what happened last week with his teammate Thomas Enge. He was black flagged, although he had the fastest lap of the race and in Texas fastest lap of the race. Doug, after watching the video, what are your thoughts?
Well, you know, I talked to Brian for about 30 minutes in his truck after the race. You know, I obviously understand what Brian did. What I don't understand is how a car 5 laps down can continue to cut us off and not get a black flag, and the only one of the night we get when we're racing for position. Fastest car on the track, we've gone from 8th to 3rd in about 15 laps. We thought we had a shot of winning. So we were a little upset. I'm a little calmer now. I've had a week to get over it, so we're ready to go racing here at Kansas.
Of course, he's talking about the president, Brian Barnhart of the Indy Racing League. Doug Bowles, he's like the nicest guy out here, and now everybody's calling him Mr. Mean after that TV appearance. Thomas Enga, though, guys, he was fastest in practice this morning. Look for him to do big things today in the number 2 car. Vince?
Well, Jamie, one of the allures of auto racing is how different things can be from race to race. And for the evidence of that, you have to look no further than the Target Chip Ganassi team. Take last weekend at Richmond. Scott Dixon touched with Dario Franchitti and into the wall went the 9 car. Darren Manning made contact with Roger Yasukawa. Manning went into the wall. And rookie Ryan Briscoe also made wall contact at Richmond International. So 3 cars into the wall can be very expensive. You see over $360,000 in damage. And Darren Manning starting 5th today. Things have changed. Manning starts 5th today. Scott Dixon up toward the front. Ryan Briscoe qualifies 11th. And team owner Chip Ganassi had a talk with his 3 drivers this week. Ryan, what was the message from Chip?
Well, it wasn't the best of messages, put it that way. You know, it wasn't very appreciative of all these 3 drivers going into the wall. So, you know, we knew we were in for a bit of a telling off, but he just wanted to set a few things right and made sure we, you know, picked up our heels for this race, which it seems like we're doing so far.
And, of course, I made mention of Ryan, but, of course, this is Darren Manning in the 10 car. So, yeah, I'll get you straight there. Thank you. Keep me straight. Darren Manning and the Target Chip Ganassi team, as mentioned, Scott Dixon starting 7th today and Ryan Briscoe starting 11th. So it's a very good day for the Target Chip Ganassi team. They'll try to continue it on from a qualifying effort to a race performance. And, Todd, I know you guys will be keeping an eye on them.
All right, thank you very much, Vince. Well, the skies are starting to blow up just a little bit of rain this morning, but the temperature is coming up and coming up quick, and the Firestone race day has come to a conclusion. We thank you for watching. When we come back, we go green at the Argent Mortgage Indy 300. When we come back, much more. The race begins right here on ESPN. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Argent Mortgage Indy 300 here on ESPN. Well, earlier in the week, it was Indy Fest in downtown Kansas City. Gives the fans a chance to get up close and personal with their favorite drivers.
I'd like to give a huge thanks to the Connecticut National Guard troops with Company A of the 242nd Engineer Battalion in my hometown, Norwalk, Connecticut. Thanks a lot.
I'd like to say thank you to all the Texas National Guard soldiers, especially those from my hometown in Hockley, Texas. Thank you.
Happy birthday, America, and hooah to the Army Reserve component soldiers of the 826th Ordnance Company and the 863rd Engineering Company, both in Rockford, Illinois, near Roscoe, where I'm from.
And we extend our thanks to the brave servicemen and women protecting this great country around the world. Well, the grid is set. We are almost set to go. But, Scott, $360,000 for Target Chip Ganassi team, that's a bit of money.
It's a lot of money, and that's what drivers always know, that when they go to hit the wall, if you're not injured, then you got to go back and talk to the team owner.
Unbelievable. We are almost set to go here. The fans continue to pour in as we review the grid here and tell you exactly where everyone will start. And, of course, unless you've been living under a rock, you know that Danica Patrick, the rookie sensation, will start on the pole from Roscoe, Illinois at 2:14.668. The pride of Roscoe, Illinois. Her teammate Buddy Rice out of Phoenix, Arizona, will start second.
The whole thing right now, Vitor Meira, part of that Rahal Letterman group, you know, he's got to keep the Chevrolet of Thomas Scheckter behind him. You heard how anxious he is to get up front. He doesn't like to be behind.
The Brazilian, the South African. We continue the international theme on row 3. Darren Manning from North Yorkshire, England, and Edinburgh, Scotland's Dario Franchitti, now living in Nashville, Tennessee. On row number 4, former IndyCar Series champion Scott Dixon, originally from Auckland, New Zealand, and Tony Kanaan, the current IndyCar Series champ from Salvador, Brazil. Row 5's got Scott Sharp out of Norwalk, Connecticut. Sam Hornish Jr., Defiance, Ohio.
Row 6, Ryan Briscoe, I think a great young rookie. Going to get a win sometime here. And Thomas Engel, another fast guy. Thomas Engel probably could have won that race last week in his mind, or obviously in the owner's mind.
Dan Weldon, the Indianapolis 500 winner from Emberton, England, and Elio Castroneves, our winner last week. They will be on row number 7. Row number 8 has Kosuke Matsura from Aichi, Japan, and Brian Herta out of Warren, Michigan. Moving back in the field on row 9, it's Roger Yasukawa out of Los Angeles, California, and Alex Barron out of Menifee, California. And row 10, Ed Carpenter, Indianapolis, and Patrick Carpentier, row 10 out of LaSalle, Quebec. Jimmy Kite and A.J. Foyt IV, Stockbridge, Georgia, and Hockley, Texas, respectively. Right now, let's toss it over to public address announcer Dave Monday for the most famous command in racing.
And now, race fans, it's time for the most famous words in motorsports. Please welcome from the real Gilligan's Island, Randy Silvers, to give that command.
Drivers, start your engines!
Thousandths of a second separated Buddy Rice and Vitor Mira last time by. What must Bobby Rahal be thinking right now? At the midway point, Mira comes storming back. They set up for turn number 3. Still side by side. Get the cameras ready for a photo finish. Mike King, who's going to win it? Vitor Mira on the outside. Buddy Rice on the inside. Mira looking for his first career win. Who's going to get it? At the line, it's going to be Buddy Rice. Buddy Rice by 51 10,000ths of a second has beaten Vitor Mira. And the last 3 winners on the IndyCar Series, Dan Weldon at the Yard of Briggs, Thomas Schechter deep in the heart of Texas, and last week in Richmond, Elio Castroneves climbed the fence once again. That takes us to our current race here at Kansas Speedway on a 4th of July weekend. Glad you could join us. The big question is, can Danica get the historic victory? But right now it's time for Scott Goodyear's keys to the race.
Well, the first thing right now is pit stop strategy. I'm going to watch for the situation right now with Penske. He's a bit further back, doesn't have the fastest race cars. So I have to say, watch for him to actually go off stride right now on this situation. Like I said, keys to the race, the pit stop strategy is number 1. The second thing on my list right now is going to be drafting. We talked about you have to be able to run in the draft with all these people around you, all that dirty air. All the drivers today have talked about that. 2x2 as they run at 215 miles an hour. The last 10 laps, the next key for me, you have to be around, set yourself up in the last 10 laps. We always see a change going on here at that point. In the very last key, and we see it every year that we come here, the last lap, last turn. Last lap, you see guys going in turns 1 and 2, trying to set themselves up for turns 3 and 4. And how many times have you seen the last turn play a key in the winner of this race? For instance, Sam Hornish, always getting the situation handled in those last 2 turns.
And a quick piece of updated information just from Vince Welch down in the pits. Roger Yasukawa has replaced an engine. Scott, we saw him running earlier, only ran 10 laps this morning in full tank practice. So Yasukawa has swapped out an engine. That means he will start in the back of the field. As we set it down to pit row one more time, and here's Dr. Jerry Punch.
Thanks, Todd. Mere thousandths of a second separating the cars out there, so a second or 2 saved in here can be the difference between winning and losing on race day. Now, that hunt for milliseconds can cause miscues, and a year ago, it indeed did just that here in the Klein Tools team. Dan Weldon, a miscommunication. He tries to leave early. He shears the hose off, the fueling hose, pulling over a methanol tank full of methanol. Fortunately, there was no fire and no serious injuries, but understand and appreciate how much pressure these guys are under on race day to get these cars in and out in a hurry. And particularly today, take a look here. The green flag is yet to wave, and it is 98 degrees here on pit road. A lot of pressure to perform in the heat. Vince Welch.
Tim Cindric calls strategy for Elio Castroneves. You were a winner last week at Richmond. Now you're on the big track, more of a horsepower track, and you qualified only 14th. How do you stay up front?
Yeah, Richmond was a great day for us, or a great night, I should say, especially being in Marlboro's backyard. This weekend, with a 2-day weekend, we really decided to focus on race setup. So starting where we are, we've got a bit of work to do, but I think we'll be in good shape once it starts.
Let's go to Jamie Little.
Well, Vince, 3 of the last 4 drivers that have won here were American drivers. The first one, Eddie Cheever. Well, he's back as team owner for number 51 and 83, coming off your best finish of the year last weekend. Eddie, how did that boost the morale coming into this race?
It was really good for the drivers, engineers, and the mechanics, because that was a circuit where handling was really important. We're right back here on a super speedway where there's other issues you have to work with. But the team is happy. Both drivers are happy with the car this morning in full tanks. And this is a very bizarre race. We have 20 guys chasing one girl. It'll be exciting.
Very interesting, and definitely Alex Baer and Patrick Carpentier have an uphill battle on their hands. Todd?
All right, thank you very much, Jamie. The crowd is starting to settle in. There's still people pouring in here as we take you around the track on board. First will be Patrick Carpentier, the Canadian, part of that Red Bull Cheever Racing team. Then it is Scott Dixon, the New Zealander. He is a former champion on the IndyCar Series, the number 9 for Target Chip Ganassi. This is Dario Franchitti, number 27, part of the Andretti Green team, the ARCA X Honda. And Darren Manning, another Target Chip Ganassi car involved in that accident last week in Richmond. The man who won in Texas, Thomas Schechter, number 4, going back to the platinum look. No more yellow paint. And the lady of the day, Danica Patrick. Can she do it? Can she pick up the first ever victory here at the IndyCar Series? Well, as you heard Dr. Jerry Punch say, the temperature is very hot, 98 degrees on pit row, and it's just about to get a little bit warmer. The Argent Mortgage Indy 300 is off and running, and Danica Patrick has the pole. And just like that, Scott Goodyear, everyone is rushing to the front. Is this a case where they don't think Danica can hold on, or everyone's just jockeying for the good position right now?
Well, all the drivers, especially Danica right now, those butterflies in your stomach before the start. I know that she probably wants to lead the first lap, but Buddy Rice probably has to think different about it.
And it is Buddy Rice. Buddy Rice, her teammate, not protecting Danica right there, decides to get out front. But Scott, in practice this morning, he was the fastest by far.
One of the fastest guys. You know, right now you see Thomas Schechter in the silver platinum car for Pennzoil starting to have a look. You know, he certainly has been sort of sitting back in their last couple of races and waiting to the end, but that certainly doesn't seem to be the case today. And there's Tony Kanaan in the green and white 711 car starting to actually work his way up towards the front.
Well, technically it's not a restart, but Tony Kanaan may be the best in the business on starting from the slow position and jumping up as he moves up. There you see the sparks coming off. The cars are fully loaded right now. Scott, tire temperature should not take long for them to come up.
Not in this heat, actually. You know, the cars have been sitting out there on the line, so the tires certainly get heat just from the sun beating down on them. But Tony Kanaan, we talked about him. He was very quick, even in warm-ups this morning. You know, a lot of the other Andretti Green guys have been struggling this weekend, but he and Dario Franchitti seem like they've certainly got it handled here this weekend.
On board with Thomas Schechter, number 4, right there behind your leader, Buddy Rice. Tony Kanaan on the inside, the number 11, 711 car for Andretti Green Racing, and there's his teammate on the outside, number 27, that's Dario Franchitti. If you're Ray Lito and Ray Hall Letterman, are you panicking right now because Danica Patrick has gone from 1st back to 6th position?
Well, you know, she did that the last couple of races, and she actually sat back and started to learn. Remember, she just said...
Too short. It's too short. You need 5th. You need 5th and 6th here.
5th and 6th. She was running 4th in warm-up this morning. I heard her say on the radio. And the key thing right now, she's in that draft that we talked about. You get more RPMs in the engine, higher speed, running with the group than you do by yourself. So she's going to have to start selecting 5th and 6th. Otherwise, she's going to end up having the car running on the rev limiter.
So Buddy Rice continues to lead. A lot of chatter early on between Danica Patrick and her pit, Scotty. I don't know if it's a surprise. She's now slid back to 8th place. Do you think there's a problem with the gearbox?
Well, we heard her say, maybe I can't get it into 4th. We'll have to check in on that. But the key thing right now is just to learn about the race car. They did make a lot of changes in warm-up this morning with some springs and the height of the car. Did the same thing on Buddy Rice's car. But this is a learning experience.
There's the race at the front. The number 4, that is Thomas Schechter, getting awfully close to the 27 of Dario Franchitti. Unbelievable performance right now as Buddy Rice continues to lead them. There we go on board with Dario Franchitti, and look at this, Thomas Schechter on the outside getting a run on Buddy Rice, and Dario Franchitti's going to make it 3 wide.
We talked about that 3 wide before. It just doesn't work sometimes. Look at the back of Thomas Schechter's car, move around, and he comes down right on Buddy Rice.
Forcing Buddy Rice almost below the white line, and Rice is not going to yield that line, but he has to because Schechter and the Chevrolet gets past him. Not only does he get past, so does Dario Franchitti, and it looks like Tony Kanaan as well. Scott, I know Brian Barnhart, the president of the IndyCar Series, always preaches patience. But we're only 9 laps into this 200-lap affair, and everyone wants a piece of that starting front position.
Well, you know, the key thing, I talked to a lot of drivers this morning. Everybody still seems riled up just from the race last week at Richmond. You know, that short little 3/4-mile track like a bull ring. But, you know, we're in the thick of the season right now, and you can't let races get away from you if you want to chase the championship.
Schechter leads. Franchitti sits in second. Then it is Andretti Green with Kanaan and Weldon taking up third and fourth as we check in with Rahal Letterman and Dr. Jerry Punch.
This team down here not at all very happy with what happened a moment ago to their driver, Buddy Rice. They called over the Indy Racing League official to voice their concern and their anger. Now, Buddy Rice has already been on the radio and said he's got a tire pressure buildup problem in the right front. That's why he has a little bit of a handling problem. Remember, it was about 12 to 14 degrees cooler this morning in the practice than it is right now. It is a scorcher here at race time.
All right, thank you very much, Doc. He's right. We came in this morning, Scott. We had a little bit of rain. Temperatures were very cool, but in the last hour, the skies cleared. The humidity and the heat has come up indeed, and the racing is getting just as hot as Thomas Schechter continues to lead the Argent Mortgage Indy 300 back to Kansas in just a moment. Welcome back to Kansas City. Kansas, your leader continues to be Thomas Schechter. ESPN's presentation of the Argent Mortgage Indy 300 is brought to you by Well, this is the 4th race that Schechter has led this year. 3rd time he's led in 4 starts at Kansas, but the biggest mover may be Dan Weldon. He started 13th, and now the Indianapolis 500 winner, Scott Goodyear, is up to 4th place.
For a guy that said he was very disappointed with qualifying, and he said the car just wasn't fast when it rolled off the trailer here this weekend. But the key thing, I think, for him right now is patience. He has a good race car, made a lot of changes for a warm-up. He's the points leader, and he has to make sure he stays out and collects some more points just to continue padding his lead if he can. Weldon
may be out in front, but he has the 3 of the 4 fastest race laps turned thus far. We're almost 20 laps into this thing. And is this a case, Scotty, where Andretti Green was playing possum yesterday because it was woe is us, we can't find the power, we can't do this, and now look at Andretti Green has 3 of their drivers in the top 4.
Well, I'll tell you right now, those guys are really struggling. Like I was mentioned, when they came here, a lot of long faces over there. A big powwow I hear last night in the Andretti Green camp, and the key thing for them there again is just to make sure that they're at the end of the day. And we're actually catching up with some of those guys this morning, and for more information on that, let's go down to Vince Welsh.
Well, Scott, in visiting with Brian Herta, of course, Herta is the one of the 4 drivers for the Andretti Green team that did not have a particularly good qualifying run or a very good weekend, and it has not been a pleasant day even so far for Brian Herta. Herta told us they've got the car trimmed out as trim as they can get. They're flat out all the way around, but the car is still 3 to 3.5 mile an hour slower than everybody else. And Scott, that can't be a very comfortable position for any driver. And first we'll check in with Jerry Punch.
All right, thank you very much, Vince. You know, Danica Patrick, our pole sitter, has now slid back to 9th spot where she's running comfortably. I'm with Ray Lito, the engineer who's on the radio watching Danica and calling. Ray, what happened early on with her dropping back tonight?
Not really sure. I think we were just settling in. We had a little bit of understeer in traffic there. You know, once Buddy got around us, we just had a little push, and I think we're just working back from that. Car's getting better every lap here.
We heard Buddy say he wanted a front wing and some air pressure changes. You guys made a lot of changes at the team this morning. Will you change Danica like that on the first stop?
Well, we'll see. Maybe another 20 laps, make a call on that, whether we need to change the air pressure or add a little front wing. We'll see how it goes towards the end of this stint.
Okay, that's Ray Lito, and they made a lot of changes this morning because it was much cooler than it is now, and obviously those changes not to the liking of Danica Patrick or Buddy Rice.
All right, thank you very much, Doc. As we get a look at our leader, number 4, that is Thomas Schechter. Behind him, number 27, Dario Franchitti. And to bring him a question, you look at Buddy Rice, who's sitting 8th. Danica slid back to 10th now, Scott. This is a long race. I mean, we're going 200 laps. Patience is definitely the key.
Patience always is one of the big issues here at this type of racetrack. Restarts is another issue. Make sure you don't damage the car. We saw how close those guys were earlier on with Schechter and Buddy Rice. You can't nip a wing here or do anything of that nature because you end up ruining the race car and you'll go back. You have to have a lot of patience here. Brian Barnhart this morning in the drivers meeting, the president of the IRL said, guys, take care of each other out there. It's all about you getting to the end of the race.
Well, Danica Patrick started on the pole, excuse me, and she is now in 9th. Her teammate Buddy Rice just ahead of her in 8th as we take a look at the Firestone telemetry with Thomas Schechter. 212 miles an hour No surprise there with 100% throttle, Scotty, but that 3-point plus G is kind of a surprise to me. I mean, we saw those at Texas and Richmond with a high banking, but here, I guess it's a little more gradual, but the speeds they're carrying, I guess it compensates for it.
15-degree banking here, Todd, versus that 24 that you have at Texas. The key thing, that's what the best thing about Texas is that's where you get that third lane from. Just the drivers feel a lot more grip up in that third lane. Here, the cars have to work really, really well to get the handling through the turns, but you see that these guys, they don't lift their throttle. I mean, 10,300 RPM with those engines. It's amazing.
Maybe the good news for Rahal Letterman right now is that man, number 17. That is Vitor Meira, currently sitting in 5th. Behind him is Sam Hornish Jr. Want to wish a very happy birthday to Sam Hornish Jr., who turned 26 years of age yesterday. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't turn over an expensive car like this to a 26-year-old.
Well, he's driving for the dream team, as he called it, with Roger Penske. Second year with the team. Remember, he went out last year, first race, won at Homestead. That was a dream situation from the young man from Defiance, Ohio.
And he is no ordinary 26-year-old. Sam Hornish may be the most capable driver in the state of Kansas today, other than Scott Goodyear.
Well, you're being polite, but I'm much older than him, let me tell you that.
Well, you got us to the hotel real quick, so that was fantastic. Thomas Scheckter continues to lead the Argent Mortgage Indy 300, followed by Dario Franchitti and Tony Kanaan. Much more when we return. Right now, you go side by side. Welcome back to ESPN's coverage of the Argent Mortgage Indy 300 from Kansas Speedway. Todd Harris along with Scott Goodyear as we ride on board with Patrick Carpentier. There is your leader, number 4, Thomas Scheckter. Lap 33 of 200, Scott. So far, the Chevrolet Power looks like the team to beat.
A lot of people worried in the paddock about this Chevrolet Power, Todd, because they know they really got onto something just a few races ago, really starting at the Indianapolis 500. Obviously went along and won at Texas. Franchitti, though, in the Honda has been hot pursuit ever since the beginning, and then obviously his teammate directly behind him, the green and white car 711 of Tony Kanaan.
There's Dan Weldon behind him. Dario Franchitti, though, and Tony Kanaan and Dan Weldon, part of the Andretti Green team, also with Brian Herter, who sits right now in 11th place. Maybe known more as a short tracker, Dario Franchitti, but right now he's shown his prowess on the super speedways.
He certainly has. Came in here really as a road course driver like a lot of these guys, and has really taken to the ovals and is really shining on just the short and the long ovals today.
There's number 26. That is Dan Weldon, the red and white Klein Tools car. He is the reigning Indianapolis 500 champion, winning that race just this past May 29th. And as Dr. Jerry Punch pointed out, he has had a whirlwind of media attention throughout May, June, and into July. Behind him is Vitor Meira, part of the Rahal Letterman team. He started 3rd. He has moved back to 5th, but for Rahal Letterman, that's actually a pretty good thing considering where Buddy Rice, who started 2nd, is in 8th, and Danica Patrick, who started 1st, is in 10th.
The key thing is not to panic and be patient, as we talked about. Sam Hornish has done a great job starting 10th and currently up to 6th place. You know, he's really turning some great laps in here. Watch for those guys to maybe try and run some different fuel strategy today.
Another Chevrolet, that is the rock star Thomas Enge ride, the number 2, the young man out of the Czech Republic. A rookie, but he shows a world of upside.
Very strong, great driver on the road course also. Has won the Le Mans class in GT1 just a couple of years ago.
Buddy Rice right now sits in 8th. He started 2nd. He is the defending champion here at the Argent Mortgage Indy 300. A lot of pressure on him, and I guess Danica Patrick, this is their sponsors event, and they sure would like to win it like Buddy did last year. Now we have a pass taking place right here, and that's Elio Castroneves, the 3 car, part of the Marlboro team. Penske moving ahead of number 16, Danica Patrick.
Wasn't very happy with his car, and Danica Patrick comes back on the low side. Very good to get the position back, keeping your foot in the throttle on the low side all the way through the turn 3 and 4 complex.
So Danica sits in 9th place as we ride on board. Elio Castroneves just behind her, and that is your top 10. Brian Herta now sits in the 11th position. As we go back to the front of the pack, there is the Platinum Chevrolet of the man from South Africa, Thomas Scheckter, out in front, and Dario Franchitti right now, Scott, seems content to sit behind him and work with Tony Kanaan and Dan Weldon. Is this a pit strategy thing? Because we know the pit's window is probably, what, 45 to 50?
Well, you don't want to risk trying to get by somebody this early in the race, so right now maybe he is trying to save just a little bit of fuel. Maybe he didn't feel like he could get the job done. You actually figure out what your car is doing now. We heard Ray Ladle talk about maybe we'll make a change in the car, but we won't know until maybe another 20 laps or so. The key thing as Thomas Scheckter starts to look going around Jimmy Kite is that you want to make sure you make a couple of changes in the car, see how it reacts, follow the track changes, as we say, and maybe make the car the best it can be at the very end of the race.
Well, Jimmy Kite really off the pace right there. The ethanol-powered sponsored vehicle is trying to get around there, but right now Kite, who ran in the truck race last night, the Craftsman Trucks race, took 22nd as we take a look at the Toyota lap leaders after 39 laps, and it's all Thomas Scheckter. Of course, Buddy Rice grabbing the first 7, but Scheckter looks so strong. Whatever they did in Texas, Scott, they should not change a thing. It is Scheckter leading, followed by Franchitti and Kanaan. Danica Patrick sits in 9th, just turning a very fast lap. Can she move up? We'll find out after this. In 2 weeks, join our colleagues Marty Reed and Mike Dunn for the NHRA Powerade Series as they move on to Denver for the Mopar Mile High Nationals. Catch qualifying Saturday night on ESPN2 at 8 Eastern and final eliminations on ESPN2 Sunday at 9 Eastern. The Mopar Mile High Nationals are also available in high definition on ESPN2 HD. Call your cable operator or satellite provider today. Back at Kansas Speedway, Thomas Scheckter continues to lead the 4. Panther Pennzoil car is out in front and running strong, as we saw just moments ago in our Toyota lap leader. Scott, is this somewhat of a surprise to you?
Not really, because they try to make a statement right now. You know, they're trying to get Chevrolet to stay in this sport. Right now, Chevrolet is looking at maybe leaving at the end of this year, so I'm sure they're trying to convince some people at General Motors that this is the situation that they can run for them.
Well, shifting manufacturers over to the Honda. This is the Andretti Green team. They run the Hondas, and it's Dario Franchitti who sits in 2nd, Tony Kanaan 3rd, Dan Weldon in 4th, and Brian Hurd in 11th. And I guess for Michael Andretti, you got to be pretty happy with your whole team is in the top 11.
Certainly is. In the Marlboro car you saw on the apron coming in, looks like Sam Hornish Jr. will be one of the first guys to pit. We thought pitting would happen sometime around lap 50. We heard that the Ray Hall Letterman group would be in around lap 50 also.
So Sam Hornish Jr. rolls the dice early, possibly trying to get out of sequence. He is the first one coming down pit lane. And it looks like another driver, it looks like Ed Carpenter will also join him on pit lane as we send it down to Vince Welch.
Sam Hornish Jr. celebrated his birthday yesterday. He has been 2nd place here twice, and they believe they've got a shot to contend again today, but it must be an error-free day. They are particularly strong in the pit lane, but they're going to go a lap down, making that green flag pit stop.
Well, Scott Goodyear, do you like that strategy?
Well, as a driver right now, you're sitting there thinking, man, if a yellow can come out, this can certainly help me. But these guys will all be in sometime in the next 2, 3, or 4 laps, Todd.
Elio Castroneves, the teammate to Sam Hornish Jr., decides to come in 1 lap later. So Tim Cindric and Roger Penske doing something here, Scott. Is this a strategy thing, or do you think they really needed to come in at 50? Well, they're checking the fuel mileage possibly, you know, to come in maybe a couple of laps before the rest of the Toyota cars. Are they getting the same mileage? Hard to say, but sometimes you want to be safe. As we're watching on board right now with Thomas Scheckter, who's actually on the apron coming through turns 3 and 4. He's now starting to come onto pit road. Remember, from 210-15 miles an hour down to 60 miles an hour, Todd. Now, what happened to the theory you always pit with the leader? Let's check in with Vince Welch and find out.
Thomas Scheckter has led more laps at this racetrack than any other active driver, and he has had a dominating performance so far today. There will be no changes to the car. He says it has been running extremely smoothly. Tires and fuel. Jerry Punch.
Danica Patrick complaining of an understeer problem. Push in the car. They made a front wing adjustment. But air pressure as he is down and away. Next time by, her teammate Buddy Rice. Danica Patrick doing a little bit of a burnout leaving pit road. And here is Buddy Rice coming on, their fellow front row starter. Buddy has a major problem with push. He has asked for 4 complete turns of front wing. That is a huge adjustment for Buddy Rice. He could not get the car to turn at all in the corner. He is down and away.
Well, for the Ray Hall Letterman group, a great job of pitting, other than Danica getting that little burnout right there. But for Buddy Rice, 4 turns, Scott, that's huge.
Well, we talked about one of the keys to the race was pit stops. Be perfect in pit stops. That could have been a bit of a catastrophe as we watch right now with Dario Franchitti coming in. Andretti Green, one of the best guys in the business for pit stops. 4 tires going on, though, at 30 gallons of methanol fuel. Doesn't look like any changes on the car so far. Wow. Gets the wave out right there. He's up towards the front. Only a few pits are filled up in front of him, so he doesn't have far to go to get on the racetrack.
Behind him is Tony Kanaan just pulling into his slot. That is Thomas Enge, and we send it down to Dr. Jerry Punch. Oh, Vince. Let's
Guys, Tony Kanaan in for his stop. He crashed last week at Richmond, ending a streak of 24 straight races running at the finish. The car has been good today. They are making a tire pressure adjustment, but no chassis change.
I knew that sounded like Vince. Dr. Jerry Punch, Vince doing a great job on those last pits, and you put it out, Scotty. Andretti Green looks almost flawless as Dan Weldon now becomes the fourth and final member of that team to come in.
The pressure's on the team also. Watch these guys work quickly. Look how fast these guys get the tires changed. Just about 6 seconds usually. Fuel's in, waiting for the fuel. Driver gets the notice and off he goes. Wow, 10,300 RPM, drop the clutch, and that's the best time for a driver during a pit stop.
9.8 for Dan Weldon as he comes back out onto the apron. So Weldon makes really the final pit of the entire sequence as they come through. Once again, we'll find out where they are. Right there's Dario Franchitti, number 27 on your left, and Scheckter behind him, number 4, as we go on board with Thomas Scheckter.
We have a yellow.
Turn 4, we've got a problem. It looks like it may be Roger Yasukawa, number 24. And it happened so quickly, Scott, we didn't see it. The Dreyer and Reinbold car going high and going into the wall. We had well, they asked him if he's okay. He is moving.
He's not responded back as of yet, but there's the steering wheel coming off, which is the indication to the safety guys that are coming up in the Delphi truck that I'm really okay. The headrest pieces come off and he'll climb out. Had a bit of a tough weekend, as we mentioned. Changed the Honda engine in there. Was slow in warm-up this morning. Didn't know why. I asked Robbie Buell. He said, not sure. We're just going to change it for safety's sake. But they were already down 2 laps from the leaders, so they really had a difficult time.
Let's look at this one more time. The 24 of Roger Yasukawa just gets loose. Looks like it just breaks loose there, Scott, as he comes into 4.
It certainly looks that situation. It's a back end. Really just wants to swap ends with the front. We showed on a video earlier the same thing with Sam Hornish at Richmond last week. That's when the car is just very normal. There he's already hit the safer barrier that's up on the top side. That's the steel and energy reduction system that they have around all the cement walls here. But, you know, we used to call it the softer wall. Then actually, once a few guys hit it, they said, hey, it ain't soft hitting, guys, I'll tell you that.
So Roger Yasukawa's day has come to a conclusion. We had a chance to visit with him yesterday. He's a little bit under the weather, fighting a bit of a virus bug. Wish him the best. Good to see him out of the car. When we come back, much more of the Argent Mortgage Indy 300, your leader, Dan Weldon.
Welcome back to Kansas Speedway. I'm Jamie Little here, joined by Dennis Reinbold. We just saw Roger Yasukawa get into it. What did you see from your perspective? I know you had no communication on the radio.
Well, no, after he crashed, I asked if he was okay, and I didn't hear from him, but saw him get out of the car. He may have already pulled the earplug. So, yeah, it looks like we don't know what happened. The car was running pretty well up until then. The first stint, we kept getting a little bit better, so we were looking forward to kind of bunching up and being able to go racing today, but just wasn't going to happen today.
Started off a tough day. You guys had to make an engine change. What was the problem this morning?
I'm not really sure on that. We changed the engine because it didn't sound right, so we got that fixed, and it looked like everything was going really well. You know, it's hurtful when you miss a lot of practice sessions, which we did, but I think we did a good job and got the car ready to go today.
It's unfortunate that's their 6th DNF and 8 starts. Vince?
Brian Herta, the Andretti Green Team, told me earlier today, said he just blew a gasket yesterday. He was so frustrated with the way this car has been. Michael, now we're having an overheating problem. What's the issue?
It's okay. They got it off. They had to take off one of the panels, which they did. It took a little longer in a pit stop, but the temperatures are fine now.
Ever figure out what the problem was in regards to why Brian is so much slower than the other 3 drivers?
We're a little confused right now, to be honest with you. We had the problem at Indianapolis in qualifying as well, and it seems like it's showing up here again. And you know, we're just trying to figure it out, but we don't have it figured out yet.
AGR trying to fight through it. Doc?
Well, Buddy Rice and Danica Patrick from the front row back to row 5 early on here. Let's find out what their problems were. I'm with Chief Operating Officer Scott Remke for Ray Hall Letterman. And Scott, major chassis adjustment for both Danica Patrick and Buddy Rice. Have you been able to fix the problem?
Yeah, I think so. We ran in front there at the start until we got pushed into the grass out back. And then in traffic, the car picked up a push. We added some front wing, adjusted the tire pressure. I think we'll be fine.
The boss man, Bobby Rahal, on vacation in Greece. It is 9 p.m. in Greece, where he is watching via satellite right now. Have you heard from the boss?
Haven't heard from him yet, but I'm sure we will.
All right, Bobby Rahal, very interested in what's happening here on a family vacation in Greece, hoping to get a 1-2-3 finish for his Rahal Letterman teams. Guys?
All right, thank you very much, Doc. Well, just moments ago when Danica Patrick was in the pits, we commented on her little burnout there, Scotty, and it wasn't Danica's fault. It was not a rookie mistake as we listen in on the radio.
Nice job. Okay, put on the brakes, keep the revs up. We're filling up with fuel, so wait on this. Go, 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 go. All right, it's green, it's still green. Watch your traction control down there.
Now you hear the traction control. What you're trying to do is get the car launched and get out and get those tires spinning, as she did a great save. The key thing, though, is once the car starts to slide and get its attitude, you're expecting the horsepower to the rear wheels to sort of carry you through to the next phase, get yourself up to 60 miles an hour. But with traction control still on, what ends up happening is that it sort of changes the attitude of the car, Todd, and she did a great save. But, you know, we talk about the pit stop and the guys over the wall. That guy just had a scary moment there. You see a car coming towards you at 55 or 60 miles an hour. That's why those guys, we always appreciate them coming over the wall doing those pit stops.
As they start to bunch up, lap 56 was when Roger Yasukawa took it into the wall. That brought out our first yellow of the day. Dan Weldon continues to lead here at the Argent Mortgage Indy 300. He won the Indianapolis 500. Can he turn the same trick here in Kansas with Danica Patrick, who was the pole sitter, sitting in 10th? And here comes Weldon with his good buddy Tony Kanaan just on the right side.
You saw the silver platinum car back in 3rd and 4th trying to duck underneath Dario Franchitti, and Franchitti closed the door on him and pushed Scheckter down onto the apron here in the middle part of the front stretch.
Sam Hornish taking the high line. Here's one driver who is very capable of staying up high like that.
We said earlier he loves the high line, always sets his car up to run strong off of turns 3 and 4. That's why we see him run and win so many of these close finishes at these mile-and-a-half tracks.
26 red and white is Dan Weldon, your leader. On the outside, the blue and red, that's the 27 of Dario Franchitti. Behind him, the green and white, the 11 of Tony Kanaan. And I'll tell you what, Thomas Scheckter is just, he's running out of patience. He's just trying to find a slot.
Well, that's a good point, Todd, because right now he went into this pit situation first, came out actually in 5th, and it looks now like he has to sit back and sort of regain his composure and not throw this thing away, because he does have a fast race car, but there's a long time to go in this race so far.
Just ahead of him is the red and white car, the number 6 of Sam Hornish Jr., part of that Team Penske. So the powerful teams are up in front, maybe the best drivers in the world here at Kansas right now, Scott, doing battle at over 210 miles an hour.
We heard some of the drivers talk about changing the front wing because the car is pushing. Anytime you get in a situation like we see right here with the 2 Target cars and the Delphi car of Scott Sharp up high, hear the foot always on the throttle, 100% throttle, as we saw in the Firestone telemetry. And here we go right now with Sharp having a look, high and low, trying to get a run.
On board with number 9, Scott Dixon. There he is, currently sitting in 11th. Darren Manning in 12th, and Ryan Briscoe, the rookie, has dropped back to 19th position. Back to the front of the pack, there is your leader, Weldon, followed by Franchitti and Kanaan. That is Andretti Green, 3 members of that we saw moments ago. Talking with Michael Andretti, and Doc Punch, was asking him why Brian Herta's car was sliding back so much. Herta currently sits in 14th. And let's check in with Jamie Little.
Well, Todd, unfortunately, Roger Yasukawa was involved in the first incident, bringing out the first yellow. Roger, everybody's kind of confused on what happened. What happened from your perspective?
Well, the car was pushing at the first stint. We came into the pit and we added some front wing. And as I was passing Anthony Foyt, he kind of moved up on me, but all of a sudden the car just got loose, and it seemed like I lost some air. And the car just spun, hit the wall. So we really wanted to finish the race. We haven't been getting any luck this season, so hopefully we'll have some luck next weekend or next race at Nashville, and at least finish in the top 10.
Like we said earlier, he's only finished 2 races this year. Guys, better luck in 2 weeks in Nashville.
26 is Dan Weldon inside, and once again, here comes Thomas Scheckter. Scott, just moments ago, he was in 5th place. And now he's pushing for 1st. And Weldon is just not going to yield that inside line as we push him up high.
Keeping on the low line is what Weldon has to do, not to drift up and move Scheckter up, but he certainly tries to do that. Schecter's trying to push Weldon down towards the white line. They're both battling for position here, going through the turn, the proper line. And right now, the guy that's sitting back there waiting is Sam Hornish. In a bit of a precarious situation, because if these 2 guys get together, then starts what we call a chain reaction big one.
Sam Hornish, who worked together with Thomas Scheckter back in Texas, possibly having a little look at it once again. I don't know what the radio communication's like, but it is still Weldon on the inside. And look at that, all 3 manufacturers represented up front, the Honda, Chevrolet, and the Toyota, going 1, 2, and 3 with Tony Kanaan on the low side.
Shows you how well Sam's car is working. Watch these guys, 215, 18 miles an hour through that tri-oval, and that's just probably maybe a foot away, a little closer in the turns.
That is the beauty of side-by-side. You miss nothing as we keep this on screen for you. We take a break. This is the Argent Mortgage Indy 300. Your leader, the red and white car of Dan Weldon. With a formation as tight as the Blue Angels, we welcome you back to the Argent Mortgage Indy 300, where the lead goes back and forth between Thomas Scheckter and Dan Weldon. Folks, you don't want to miss any of this because, Scott, this is how it could come down to the finish, just like last year.
Always happens at these mile-and-a-half tracks like this, Todd. But this is what the drivers love right now. You're nestled in that cockpit. Your foot is hard on the gas pedal. You don't want to lift off because if you do, you know you're going to slow the engine up. Sometimes what these guys do, if they have to actually get off the gas, they'd rather not. Their foot's planted on the throttle. Their left foot comes over, touch the brake just a little bit, and keep the RPMs up on the engine. Remember, 10,000 RPM maximum. These guys are shifting gears as they're going around right now, keeping this engine in the power band.
An unbelievable pace here at the Argent Mortgage Indy 300. Dan Weldon leads. Now Scheckter decides to dip in behind him. Kanaan will go with him. The green and white 11 car of Tony Kanaan now sits in third. And Sam Hornish Jr., the red and white Team Penske car on the outside. And they go into single file line. This makes Brian Barnhart, the president of the IRL, very happy.
He loves to see this single file a little bit earlier in the show than being maybe like we've seen sometimes. But right now, Sam Hornish is doing exactly what he thought that he wanted to do, is just to be in touch with the leaders throughout the whole day and be there for the finish.
Look how close they are. 1 through 10 separated by only 1.5 seconds, Scott. We know that's what a football field in a second and a half. Thomas Indy, though, may be the biggest on-the-move driver. The number 2 Rockstar car, also on board a Chevrolet, Schecter's teammate, has moved up now to 5th place.
No love lost between these two guys in front. Danny Weldon keeps coming out of the turns, trying to run the middle line, trying to put Scheckter up just a little bit high. Scheckter gets on the high side, trying to drive him down, because that's what he wants to do, is try to get him to take his foot off the gas and lose his momentum so Thomas can take the lead.
Let's send it down to Vince Welch.
Well, one of the drivers that had been running up front, Dario Franchitti, is now back in 6th, but there's no problems. They've been conserving fuel, and they've been communicating on the radio with Dario regularly, updating him on his fuel mileage. In fact, the last time they came over, they told him he had better fuel mileage than both Dan Weldon and Tony Kanaan. And speaking of fuel, Roger Penske had been a little concerned about the fuel for his Marlboro Team Penske car of Sam Hornish Jr., that they had to come in a couple of laps earlier than the rest of the competition, so they're trying to get both Hornish and Castroneves to stay single file to conserve fuel and get better mileage.
All right, thank you, Vince. Weldon continues to lead. Number 26, the red and white car. Behind him, the platinum colors of Thomas Scheckter. And there is Sam Hornish Jr., the red and white 6 car for Roger Penske. Tony Kanaan sits in 4th. On board with Thomas Scheckter as we take a look at our Toyota lap leaders. And Scott, this really is no surprise. Thomas Scheckter has been dominant, but now Dan Weldon, a guy who we saw in practice not having a great run of it, and really got his troops together and, I don't say chewed him out a little bit, but whatever he did, they did something right, because now he has 20 laps led as we are 82 laps in, and we check in with Dr. Jerry Punch.
Guys, a lot of confidence down here in the Panther pits for Pennzoil and Thomas Scheckter. They know they've brought their best horse to the Derby, and this horse is galloping now, trying to get by Dan Weldon. This is the same car that sat on the pole at Homestead and sat on the pole and dominated Texas, leading 119 laps. They believe it's going to win 2 in a row here today. Scheckter holding 2nd spot, but they believe they go to the whip late, they will have the car to beat.
Thanks, Doc. The warning coming from race control, stay above the white line, and Tony Kanaan right now flirting with that white line, and something he's not afraid to do every now and then.
Well, a lot of guys are starting to jockey for position, as we were mentioning, trying to push the other driver around, push their car a little high, move their air around. They don't want to below that white line, especially in the turns, Todd, because you come off that 15-degree banking and it goes directly to a flat portion on the apron and can certainly pitch the car around on you. They will actually take the opportunity to try and do that down the back stretch or maybe on the front stretch, but really you have to concentrate and say that's almost like grass below that white line is what we're instructed to do all the time.
Down the front stretch they come with Weldon as your leader. Scheckter in second. Kanaan sits in third. And this is a fantastic race. We could have pits in 10 to 15 more laps. That will certainly be exciting. Maybe the turn of the race. Stick around and find out who wins the Argent Mortgage Indy 300 on ESPN. Welcome you back to Kansas. Dan Weldon continues to lead, followed by Scheckter, Kanaan, Hornish, and Thomas Enge, your top 5. Dario Franchitti has slid back to 6, but as Vince Welch pointed out, they are not panicking down there in Andretti Green. Scott, is it too early as we approach the halfway point to be talking fuel conservation and maybe rolling the dice a little bit and pitting out of sequence?
Well, the key thing, I think, for all these guys right now is to get the handling of the car down. If you have to sit behind the person in front to sort of save a little bit of fuel, as we watch Thomas Scheckter right now having a look on the outside of Danny Weldon, then that's what you need to do. We've heard that Penske's trying to do that. Maybe that's exactly what Dario Franchitti is doing. Still a long way in this race, as you mentioned, not past halfway, but I would really be concentrating on getting my car working in traffic, finding out exactly where the best place in the race track is for my car to excel at, because you need to be able to start thinking about these last 10 laps that always come down to the winning of this race.
Your back corner, still outside. Scheckter's right, Hornish right with them. Scheckter's still outside.
You hear the chatter on the radio of Dan Weldon. Since their last pit, Dan Weldon pitted on 54, Scheckter on 50, so that would say that he would probably come in first, or Hornish Jr. actually in 47. Still 20 of the 22 cars in the lead lap. Rob Jirasakawa is out, and Jimmy Kite is the only one not in the lead lap, and that's with one caution. So the pace is unbelievably fast today, Scott.
A fast pace. These guys are routinely clicking off anywhere from 208, 9, sometimes 12 miles an hour, and that's a pretty fast race pace right now. That's when you start using all the fuel also, Todd, when your foot's just pegged down to the ground like it is. And right now, I would have to say that these guys are going to have to start maybe slowing this pace down if they want to start to conserve fuel.
Thomas Enge not worried about the high price of gas right now as he sits in fourth and gets past Tony Kanaan. The Rockstar Chevrolet, he has got his foot mashed down right now, and he is moving up the ladder. We talked about him, Scott, earlier. He was in fifth, and now Enge moves up to fourth. Here's a guy who, well, if you ask Doug Bowles, he would have won at Richmond, but maybe making a point here for Chevrolet.
Chevrolets were strong. Enge, mostly a road course driver, winning the GT1 class at Le Mans in 2003, led this year when he went back again before they had some mechanical problems. Very, very fit driver. Remember, he actually had some rib damage from falling and having an accident back in Japan, but he sort of got through that. But I would say he's just that type of guy that's very quiet, but he's going to surprise you.
On board with the number 4 of Thomas Scheckter, looking back and seeing what he is dealing with. Sam Hornish Jr. on the left and Thomas Enge on the right. And there you see the lead pack of 4 with Weldon, Scheckter, Enge, and Hornish Jr.
Those two Panther cars seem to be very fast through the middle of the turn. All the cars enter in at the same speed, but they seem like they just get rotated in that middle portion of the turn, scrubbing maybe not as much speed off as some of the other cars and being able to come out of the turn just a little bit quicker. That's where the speed comes during every lap around this racetrack.
Dan Weldon is from England. He is the Indianapolis 500 champion for 2005. Thomas Scheckter originally from South Africa. Then you have Thomas Enge from the Czech Republic. Sam Hornish Jr., the first American currently sitting in 4th place. And Tony Kanaan from Brazil, your top 5. Dario Franchitti, the Scotsman, in 6th. Well, as we approach the halfway point, Scott, 100 laps almost complete. What do you expect to see in the next 8 or 9 laps?
Communication into the pits right now, telling them what they need on their cars so they can have some tire pressure adjustments or wing adjustments during this next stop. Wait to see how the cars can react after those changes. Remember, you're always chasing this racetrack. It's getting a little bit hotter, more rubber's going down. Probably cars are going to start sliding around a little bit. Look how close those guys are through the tri-oval. Not giving an inch between Sam Hornish and Thomas Enge.
It's a lot of skill and a lot of trust. And Ryan Briscoe, speaking of rookies, is moving up, and he just turned a very fast lap, a 2:12.765. Another rookie, Danica Patrick, who was our pole sitter, she's comfortably in 9th place with Buddy Rice just ahead of her. If you're Danica at this point, do you think she's panicking, Scott? Or I know there's a lot of pressure put on her to say this is the race for you to win, and a lot of people like us were saying, can you win in Kansas, Danica? This is a big one for you. She's not panicking. She's still got 100 laps to go.
Well, the team's all right there in front of her, 7, 8, and 9 in positions with Vitor, Buddy, And Scott Sharp has actually just slipped around Danica right now, but she just has to make sure she understands what the car is doing, communicating, seeing going down for a gear change there, probably from 6th to 5th, because she got some dirty air from the car in front. That understeer crept in. She turned the wheel a little bit more. The RPM started to fall off. She had to go down in the gearbox, select another gear to get that engine back up into its RPM band. Here she's got a good run going on right now. She's trying to get underneath Sharp. She had a good drive off of that turn.
And just moments ago, Danica Patrick and Scott Sharp getting very close together, not comparing their firework activity plans for tonight. Watch this.
Outside with Sharp, outside with Sharp, outside.
See, Sharp spotter right there needs to be turning around saying that car's coming low, car's coming low. The key thing for Jeff McCollum, the spotter, is you always communicate with the driver out in the racetrack.
With speeds in excess of 209 miles an hour, right now, this is the third fastest race in IRL history at 187.4 miles an hour. We'll see how that plays out. And at the top of the show, we asked you, will Danica Patrick win this weekend's race in Kansas? So far, 54% of you think she will. 46% say no. Scott, you didn't log on, but there's a whole lot of racing still to go, and we've seen stranger things happen. She moved up just like this at Indianapolis 500. Remember, she was mired back in 14th, and before we knew it, she was in 3rd and 4th.
A lot of racing to go, as you say, as we just went over 100 laps right now. Another pit stop to happen, maybe 2. The thing that she has to watch out for is to make sure that she has the opportunity to be in the lead pack at the end. We talked about being there for those last 10 laps, one of the keys to the race. But right now, they're probably going to make some changes in all 3 of those Ray Hall Letterman cars to see if they can get them to work just a little bit in traffic.
Now, was that a lift or a shift?
An opportunity for Elio just to go by in the high side. So she's obviously struggling with the car in the middle part of the turn. You can hear her get off the gas, go down for a gear. The car's not turning in the middle part of the turn, which is where actually you start to lose all your speed or sometimes make up speed, Todd.
Sam Hornish Jr. comes down into pit row. We check in with Dr. Jerry Punch.
60 miles per hour for the birthday boy, Sam Hornish, who turned 26 yesterday. Roger Penske calling to stop, and Penske has called for a half a turn of front wing out. A slight change for Sam Hornish. 4 fresh Firestone, getting it full of methanol. Half a turn of front wing, get it full, and Hornish is away. The leaders flash by.
So he goes a lap down, but once again, Penske perfect around 10 seconds for that pit stop. Now, he is really out of sequence, but he was the first one to come in on pits at the start of the race.
And that will actually all flush itself out because over the next 4 to 5 laps, there are going to be a lot more drivers coming in. The key thing, though, is to have a fast in-lap and a fast out-lap during these pit stops so you don't lose track position. We talked about Thomas Scheckter coming in first last time and actually going out 4th and falling back to 5th. The thing you try to do is to drive as fast as you can on your in-lap into the pits, and then as soon as your car is serviced, you leave and you try to get up to speed as quickly as possible. And that's some of the art that some of these drivers have. Some maybe aren't so quick.
Sam Hornish has recycled back to 19th place, but as Scott pointed out, that will all wash out. I asked you a while ago, Scott, why you don't pit with the leader, and you made a good point during the commercial break. Pitting with the leader, you always go in with the leader under yellow, not necessarily with green.
Mostly the case, and under green, you sometimes run your own strategy, but these guys are starting to defy what we were talking about before. 3 abreast right now as the target cars are actually starting to surround Elio Castroneves.
Castroneves will come in as will. It looks like Thomas Scheckter also deciding to pit at this time.
Down to 60 miles an hour all the way through pit lane here.
Let's check in with Dr. Jerry Punch.
Well, the Bowtie boys of Team Chevrolet trying to give them a win on America's birthday weekend. Thomas Scheckter comes down. Duncan Charnell and company. Duncan is the crew chief, takes the left rear tire. It will make no changes. There's going to be a routine stop, but they have got to get it full of methanol. They hold. He is down and away as Danica Patrick gets ready to head down pit road. Let's go on to Jamie Little. Jamie?
Well, Danica Patrick says the car is much better after the first pit stop. They had some understeer. They made a little change, and she said it's just fine. She's coming in right now, topping off the fuel, tires. The wind is a factor, she said earlier in the race. It's kind of shifting directions on them. Leaders are coming out of 4. No changes on. Oh, they got a nose change last minute, guys. You see them make that wing change there.
12.9 seconds for Danica Patrick, and that, Scotty, in a race of inches, that's going to hurt.
That was some miscommunication right there, because as soon as the front tire guys are finished, then they should turn around and actually make that front wing change. It looked like that was a last-minute decision.
Here's Buddy Rice coming in the 15 car, the Pioneer Argent Honda. Rice gets in There you get a look at just how hectic pit lane can be. Vitor Meira is the first one out.
Now this is what we talked about, getting a good out lap. As soon as you break that 60-mile-an-hour speed limit right at the line, you try to get up to speed as quickly as possible. You're on cold tires, the pressures are low, you got 30 gallons of fuel, the car is much heavier than when you just came in, but this section that we see right there on the apron is when you're trying to get the car up to speed, going down the backstretch into turn 3.
Dan Weldon is your leader, number 26, the red and white. His teammate is 11. It looks like Jimmy Kite, number 91, has lost power as he comes in very slow. 60 miles is the speed limit in there, and Jimmy Kite just limping his way in.
Well, 57 laps since his last pit stop makes you wonder if he actually started to cough the car and started to run out of fuel.
Your leader, Dan Weldon, now deciding now is the time to pit. So as he will cycle in, we'll keep an eye on him as he comes down pit row. The best pit we've seen thus far today by Andretti Green in a sub 10-second, 9.6. Dario Franchitti is in there as we check in with Vince Welch.
Well, his teammates have come in, Brian Herta and Dario Franchitti. Tony Kanaan is coming in as well. Now his crew members are going to move out of the way and give Weldon plenty of room to slide it into the box. There will be no changes made here. They say the car has been perfect so far, just fuel and tires. It has been executed well so far. Mike Horvath on the right front. Fuel is still in, and away he goes. Very impressive for AGR and the Dan Weldon machine.
And Scotty hits that timeout line just perfectly. Does not lose another position. A sub 10-second pit stop. That's going to get the job done at Kansas. Let's check in with Vince once again on pit row.
Tony Kanaan now is coming in, so this will be all 4 cars that have now come in for AGR. You see the clock running. It's been a smooth stop so far. Again, no chassis changes, so that indicates the AGR team has got it figured out today, at least as far as those top 3 cars are concerned.
All right, thank you very much, Vince, as we are on lap 114 of 200. That means we've got one more pit to go, Scott. It looks like today pits will not be the issue, as everyone has pretty much executed them fine under 12 seconds.
But interesting to see how some of the stops are maybe 2 seconds faster than some of the other teams. That's what I said before. Those guys certainly make their money. Holy smokes.
Yellow comes out. It's Ryan Briscoe, number 33, the rookie. And I don't want to be the one to tell Chip Ganassi that he's got some money to spend again, because Ryan Briscoe, I don't know if he made contact, but this is just out of pit out. Just on the inside.
Just on the inside, so possibly something has happened to the car mechanically, where he's now actually just pulled the car off the racing surface and off the apron there. We'll have to get a report on that. Does not look like he's actually damaged the car or he's actually hit anything.
Well, the word we're getting is he just pulled off, so that's good news. So it hasn't been damage to the car, but it is obviously something mechanical or possibly electrical that shut the car down.
So now he's trying to get out. You see the steering wheel just about trying to come off, but the Delphi crew are telling him right now, just keep your steering wheel on. We're going to tow you back to the pits.
Okay. We'll catch up with the Target Chip Ganassi team when we return to Kansas Speedway. Much more after we go side by side. And we welcome you back to Kansas Speedway. Your leader, Dan Weldon, followed by Tony Kanaan, Scott Sharp, and Thomas Engate. Thomas Schechter rounding out the top 5 as we welcome you back on a beautiful 4th of July weekend in the heartland of America. We're at Kansas Speedway just outside of Kansas City, Kansas. Again, it's the Argent Mortgage Indy 300 as we check in with Jamie Little.
Well, Todd, the bad news continues for Chip Ganassi. He's the everywhere man. He has cars on tracks all over this country. Thursday was Grand Am. Last night it was the Cup race that went very late. And then today, but we have to ask you about Ryan Briscoe. He just pulled off in the grass. What did he say over the radio?
I'll tell you, Jamie, this kid's going to be a good race driver here if I can ever get him to the end of one of these things. He was doing a great job. You know, we had him back in, 17th, 18th. We had him all the way up to the top 10. And he passed his 2 teammates and was giving them a driving lesson. I was real proud of that. And just, I don't know what happened. The clutch went out or something. He just got all of a sudden a lot of revs and no grip or traction in the clutch, he said.
So he's packing it up and calling it a day.
I'm sorry?
Packing it up and calling it a day for the number 33 car.
It was like we're packing it up and calling it a day. But Team Target was having a good day today, at least with Ryan. And we still have 2 guns out there with Darren and Scott. So we're looking forward to the rest of the race.
2 more opportunities to take that Toyota Power to the finish line. Guys?
All right, Helio Castroneves on pit road for a stop here during the yellow flag. And while you watch Castroneves stop, we'll tell you that a moment ago in that previous stop that Thomas Scheckter dodged the bullet. Here's what happened. Thomas said he had developed a vibration about 3 or 4 laps prior to the stop, and he couldn't figure out why it was vibrating. Let me show you what was going on. This is Thomas's right rear tire. I see when they mount these tires, they mark the wheel and the tire. You see, the wheel has actually rotated about 2 inches off where the tire was mounted, and when that happens, it develops a vibration. How does it happen? Well, when they dropped the car after the pit stop to put this tire on, the torque actually allowed the wheel to stay put and the tire to move, thus the separation and the vibration that was growing. So Thomas Scheckter dodges a bullet, gets this one off, gets 4 fresh Firestones on. Let's check in down with Vince Well.
Well, Doc, you were seeing Helio Castroneves come in for a stop as you look at Sam Hornish go by there, but Castroneves had quite a lengthy stop. In fact, they lowered the car ride height and also made a wing adjustment because Helio's car had been such a handful. So as Sam Hornish motors by and they're trying to get better fuel mileage, Castroneves is dealing with a handful of a race car.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. Nice job, everyone down there. Stay cool. We're going to take another break as we are still under yellow at the Argent Mortgage Indy 300. Stick around for an exciting race. When we come back, you go side by side. With 75 laps to go in the Argent Mortgage Indy 300, Dan Weldon continues to lead, followed by Tony Kanaan, and Thomas Enge now moved up to third. Thomas Scheckter was threatening moments ago, Scott, but he had what you like to call a moment.
A moment for certain, and we're not sure exactly what happened. He was doing some adjustments on the steering wheel, looked like with the fuel trim, and then he got actually into turns 3 and 4 and maybe just started to slide the car a little bit high, but whatever it is, he's regained himself and he's now on his way back. The right hand keeps reaching down to turn around and change the gears. Here he is going in behind Danny Weldon. Tony Kanaan's directly right there. Didn't look like he really... Oh, look at that wiggle. You talk about a moment, that absolutely is it. That car is probably very loose right now. Neutral race car. Man, you know something? You don't think about that, Todd. That is just a reaction. Your heart starts racing more than 180 beats per minute. And we used to sometimes call that in racing a depends moment.
Well, that's a moment at 208 miles an hour. And Scheckter went from 2nd to 6th place. But as Scott Goodyear pointed out, he is back on it now. He had the composure enough at 200+ miles an hour, Scott, to grab another gear and get the momentum going again.
Because you know you're done with that in the race car. In your mindset, you are actually done with what just happened. You're moving on to what's next in front of you and how you can actually regain that position back. You know, drivers don't sort of think about what just happened. They're always thinking about what's ahead of them.
What tremendous reflexes to keep that animal strapped down. So it's Weldon, Kanaan, and Enge, your top 3 at Kansas. There are your Toyota lap leaders. Weldon with 65, Scheckter with 49. Scotty, I have a feeling this is going to be an old-fashioned shootout between the Brit and the South African.
It's almost looking like that, and I'll tell you one other guy that's right there, Sam Hornish Jr. He seems just to get into that turn and give those guys just enough room underneath them and nothing more, maybe a couple of inches. He likes to drive real close to everybody that's out there. Makes you earn every inch of the racetrack that you get around him.
Well, the big dogs are out in front. There you see Tony Kanaan, the green and white, the 11. He currently sits in 4th, part of that very powerful Andretti green team. Dan Weldon, his teammate, is out in front. Thomas Enge from the Czech Republic has moved into 2nd. The Rockstar Chevrolet is flying, and here comes Sam Hornish Jr., the red and white, the 6th car. He is moving up on the outside, picks up a position on Kanaan. He will move to 3rd as the pace and the heartbeats quicken here in Kansas. Danica Patrick, meanwhile, has moved back to 14th place. As we take a look at her Firestone telemetry, she's running right around 210 miles an hour. There you see her cracking the throttle just a little bit, and that's Roger Yasukawa. That is Koski Matsur, number 55 on the inside. Roger Yasukawa was knocked out earlier on lap 55. And it's Danica Patrick. And Scott, as a novice that I am with my experience driving at Richmond in my Chevy Cobalt, it does not look like Danica is comfortable with that car.
Well, when you're watching the throttle right there, it's starting to go up and down. She's really working the throttle, working the car. Maybe the car's not as comfortable for her. And whenever you're off the pace a little bit and you're just sort of running in the back section, it's hard to actually get past people and keep that momentum up because you're always dicing for position. But Darren Manning right now not giving her a whole lot of room. His car is moving around because Koski Masura up front is giving him some dirty air. So his car is sort of dancing and he's just trying to keep the thing going straight.
The battles continue throughout the track here. They finally get by Koski Matsur, number 55. He stays to the inside, and both Manny and Patrick get by him. As we go back to the front of the pack, it is Dan Weldon out in front. And look at this.
Watch some smoke coming out of the back of the car right there.
Yeah,
slight puff of smoke coming out of the right exhaust. Good thing he did coming through the tri-oval, got off the racetrack. I'd like to see him off the racetrack right now. I mean, with the car going what it's doing, he needs to be on the apron below that white line. He did a great job of it before, getting through the apron and going through 1 and 2. But I don't know why he actually didn't come into pit lane, because all he's doing now is oiling the racetrack down.
Well, Brian Barnhart, the president of the IRL, sees fit to yellow the flag. We are going to come out and check the track. As the yellow flag comes out, we're back after this. Welcome back to Kansas Speedway as we are under yellow and you are riding on board with Danica Patrick, who was the pole sitter at the start of the day. Danica now has slid back just a little bit, having her problems. She sits in 15th place. Remember, you can log on to ESPN.com, keyword IRL. Do you think Danica Patrick will win today? And remember, the Argent Mortgage Indy 300 post-race winner chat. You can get involved with ESPN Interactive. Now, the pits have opened, and everyone's decided, not everyone, but almost everyone has decided to come in with the yellow flag out. Let's check in with Vince.
Well, they're talking about the leaders here. You see Tony Kanaan is coming in. He's going to come and make a stop. His crew is out. Kanaan currently shown as second on the board, or top 5 on the board. And no changes expected with these cars. Both Kanaan and Weldon have been very strong as far as the handling of the cars are concerned. Let's go to Jamie Little.
She was still complaining of understeer, but they said the car's working better. What happened with traction control earlier, they shut it off and said the car's working better without it. Guys?
At pit exit, this is what it looks like. Tony Kanaan, very good. You know, early in the season, Scott, he had his problems in pit stops with St. Petersburg, comes to mind, and Motegi, but today his team has been flawless.
Great pit stops. Also, Thomas Schechter actually gained a position, which is not what they did a little bit earlier, so certainly gave him a little bit of help. Vitor Mira also gaining a couple positions, and that's what you want when it's so tough to actually gain positions out on the racetrack. Any help your pit lane can give you, you certainly welcome.
The yellow flag was precipitated by Koski Matsura, and Scott Goodyear pointed out the white smoke coming out the back. Why he didn't pull it out in the pits is beyond us, because he came down the front straightaway and the car shut down, and by the radio he said engine broke. Sam Hornish Jr., number 6, the red and white Team Penske car. But moments ago, we talked about the great pits of Tony Kanaan. Not such a great pit, and this is not Penske perfect here.
Obviously, something's not complete. Actually, it's a stall. You see the motor coming out the back right now, or the starter motor, rather, from the guys. And actually, that's very uncommon for Sam Hornish to actually stall the car. But under yellow, it does not actually make you lose as many spots as you would underneath green. We talked about during the break whether these guys would actually come in or not. You have to chance it. If we're going to go back to green here about lap 140, you've got 60 laps left. You know, you're getting about 50 laps on a tank full of gas right now, Todd. If you get one short yellow in there and you can conserve some fuel, then those guys don't have to pit again, and it could have to be possibly underneath green. You always take a yellow stop if you think it will work out for you.
Another Andretti Green teammate, Brian Herta, decides to come down pit row, and we send it down to Dr. Jerry Punch.
Well, pretty good run going on for Kosuke Matsura and the Panasonic team. They were in the top 10 until this happened, and John Ward, we saw smoke from the back of the car, and we heard some people yelling engine. Did Kosuke not believe it was the engine? We saw him bypass pit entrance.
Well, truthfully, we don't really know whether it's the engine or not. We know we have smoke out the back, Jerry, but we're not sure if it's the engine. And I know that we had a problem with power. He felt the power go down, or drive go down, whatever was causing that. And I believe he felt on the radio he thought he got drive or power again, and then it went away. So we really don't know exactly what it is, if it's the engine or transmission or some other problem. We just know the car won't go right now.
A good run cut short for Kosuke here in the Panasonic pits. Let's check in down at Vince, who's in the Weldon pit.
Well, with John Anderson, and this team did not pit. John Y. Dan Weldon, the leader.
The other boys are going to have to pit. We went down to half tanks, so we're looking good. These guys have got to pit as well for a last stop.
And obviously, you still got to make one more stop. They've got one to go here before green. Possibly just a splash and go. Possibly just a splash and go on your last stop.
That's what we hope, yeah.
John Anderson.
Not going to tell you much information there, RC.
Vince should have had him under a light bulb and grilling him as Sam Hornish Jr. decides to come back in. Now, Scott, is this a case where they didn't get all the fuel in?
Well, if you have stall in the pits, you've lost some positions. You're at the back end of the lead lap anyway, so you're just about ready to go green. Come in, top it off. And Penske's always thinking, so they'll send him out, and hopefully that's enough that he does not have to pit, even for that splash and go that Andretti Green may or may not take.
Just make a mental note of that. At lap 140, Sam Hornish comes in and tops off the tank. We'll see if that comes around to play. The green flag is out as they bring the engines up. The RPMs are running. Look at this, 3 wide, sometimes 4 wide. Kanaan down the middle, and Thomas Scheckter decides to go south of the border. And he dips way below the white line. And I have a feeling that Mr. Barnhart's blood pressure just went up, and someone's going to hear about it on the radio.
Well, with a car going slow on the restart like that, if the guy missed a gear or something, you cannot run in the back of him, so you end up using the apron. A few cars went down on the apron. It'll be interesting to see if there's going to be some penalties handled out for that.
So Weldon will lead them out on the restart, followed by Enge and Sharp. And here it is again, the restart.
Now remember, you don't have to wait until the start line to go green, as they're starting right now to pass Alex Barron. And right now he's, well, you know, he's pushing the envelope just a little bit there. But he did not actually pass Kanaan. I'll give him that. It looked like Herta was maybe up on the top side. He backs out of it there a little bit. And maybe he didn't really gain that many positions on the bottom. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
So it's Andretti Green going 1 and 2 with Dan Weldon, Tony Kanaan. Thomas Scheckter sits in 3rd place. And look at Dario Franchitti getting a run on the outside of the 2 car of Thomas Enge. 27, the blue and red of Dario Franchitti, part of the Andretti Green team. Thomas Enge on the Chevrolet Rockstar car on the inside. Enge trying to hold on to 5th place. Trying to push Dario Franchitti back, who's technically registered as 5th place right now.
Now watch, they both enter through turn 1 side by side. The car in the bottom usually has a shorter line around, and I also think that Enge's car is working a little bit better through the center of the corner, Todd, so that means he's going to keep his speed up and not drown down the engine in the RPMs.
Thomas Enge, number 2, just behind the platinum of Thomas Scheckter, his teammate, number 4. Tell you what, if I'm Chevrolet, which I'm not, of course, I wouldn't be getting out of sport just now because they seem like they've got this thing figured out.
They've done a great job with going through and making this engine better since the beginning of the year, and it really showed promise at the last race last year. And they've done a great amount of work throughout the wintertime.
Dario Franchitti gets a great run. Look at him dipping in between the 2 teammates. Franchitti, the red and blue, number 27, just behind, making very little room for air as he gets just behind Thomas Scheckter. As we are back on board with Danica Patrick, Danica has slid back now to 16th, so she is running her number, and she's behind A.J. Foyt and Buddy Rice. And for Rahal Letterman, I don't want to get the call from Greece, and Bobby Rahal was on vacation. We started 1 and 2, and now what? We're running 15 and 16?
Well, I think the key thing right now for her, she needs to be there at the end of the race. We talked about that. And if she's trying to save fuel possibly because she knows she doesn't have the car to be able to go to the front, that's maybe one good strategy. We'll have to wait to see how that works out for her.
Back to our leaders. Right now, it is Dan Weldon, followed by Tony Kanaan, Thomas Scheckter, and Dario Franchitti. Thomas Enge rounding out the top 5.
Ray Lato now, engineer for Danica Patrick. She's going backwards there the last couple laps. What is she saying?
Well, we're not really helping her out very much in the pits today. We had 3 pretty bad pit stops, and we put her back in the mix here. And just, everybody's so evenly matched here. It's hard to get around. You have a little understeer in traffic. People get around you. You're just going back and forth all day.
How much is this wind affecting her?
Well, I think it's affecting everybody the same. It's, it's giving everybody a lot of understeer down in turn 3 on the entry. So we're just trying to dial that out all day.
Very passionate crew here wanting to see their girl take home a win, guys.
Well, one of Scott's keys, actually the first keys for the race for Scott Goodyear, were pit stops. And Danica Patrick, having some problems today. As you heard Ray Lato say, they are not giving her a whole lot of help. And Dario Franchitti is on the move. It's Andretti Green at the front of the pack, going 1, 2, and 3 with Weldon, Kanaan, and Franchitti. Will they sweep the podium? Stick around and find out as we continue on ESPN.
Back here at Kansas Speedway, the Argent Mortgage 300, along with Michael Andretti. One of his cars is leading this race, Dan Weldon, but you were just visiting with Kim Green about Thomas Schecter's move below the white line. What was your concern?
Well, we feel you're not allowed to drive down there underneath the white line and improve your position, and we felt that he did.
How's the day going for the other drivers? Kanaan and Weldon seem to be doing well, but how about Franchitti and Brian Herta?
Dario's running well too, but Brian's car has just been off all weekend for whatever reason, and just having problems.
Let's go to Jerry Punch with Mike Griffin and looking at that Scheckter move now.
Wow, anxious moments a moment ago for the Panther team. Now, Mike Griffin, you're one of the co-owners for Thomas Scheckter, and you firmly believe your driver did not deserve to be penalized for the move a moment ago. Why?
Well, at 200 miles an hour, if the whole field moves down and you have nowhere to go, you have to go under the white line. I mean, you're not going to get out of it. If you get out of it, you're going to go all the way back, and you're still under the white line. So you take your chances, move over a little bit, give away some room, get spread out again. He didn't improve his position while he was under the white line. He didn't do it to pass somebody. So Barnhart apparently on the director's channel said it was okay with him as long as nobody improved their position. We didn't.
All right, there you have it, guys. Both sides of the story.
Two compelling arguments, and Scott Goodyear, you kind of sided with Griff there. He didn't improve his position, and I don't think he was trying to do it to get past anyone. I think it was one of those things where Griff pointed out at 200-plus miles an hour, people come down, you got to go somewhere.
Well, when you watch the replay a couple more times, and when you watch Thomas Scheckter then go around Alex Barron, the Red Bull car, the number 51 car, then all of a sudden Kanaan, who also passed Alex Barron, starts to come down to the white line, and Scheckter did the smart thing. He got down the apron so they wouldn't have any contact.
Dan Weldon continues to lead, and once again, Thomas Scheckter, he's treating that thing like it's a 7-Eleven, which is the car just to the side of him. It's always open.
Well, if Michael Andretti wasn't excited a few moments ago, I'll tell you what, he's probably just getting a little bit hot. I mean, I know Michael well enough to look at the expression on his face that he wanted to say a lot more than I think what was said.
He didn't want to offend Vince Welch's sensitive ears. Well, it's been quite a day for Thomas Scheckter. You remember 2 races ago, he won in Texas, and he is trying to work his way by any means necessary to the front of the pack, taking the lead on lap number 8, getting past number 15, Buddy Rice. And Scheckter on board this Chevrolet has been on the move front and back. And look at this save. At 210 miles an hour, what Scott Goodyear calls a depends moment. Here's the famous restart that got the ire of Michael Andretti as he dips down below. But again, at 210 plus, when a guy comes down, you got to go somewhere, and that's what he did, and it's what he did moments ago as we go on board with the South African. Currently second, as high as first, started 4th, lowest 17th. He is all over the place. He's now behind Tony Kanaan. Let's check in with Doc Punch.
Yeah, apparently he did improve his position on that pass a moment ago, so they told him to allow the 11 to go back by.
Okay.
There's the reason why the 11's in front of the 4. We just turned around, came back, and saw that. And I guess Brian Barnhart, through his director's channel, told the team if he allows the 11 to go back in front of him, then he can stay on the track. If he doesn't, then I'll call him in for a black flag and a stop and go through pit lane.
Let's look at it one more time. This is the second below the white line.
Got a great run off of Kanaan. Kanaan really was just going down to the line, his normal line, not really a blocking line, but Kanaan was going slow enough with Scheckter with that run that he had on him, sort of surprised him a little bit. But, you know, my point about it, I said a little while ago, Todd, is that you have to respect the white line as if there was grass below that white line. So, you know, would Thomas Scheckter have got off the gas and not driven down there if there was grass there? He certainly would have done that, but you're just taking advantage because it's pavement.
And Brian Barnhart, the sheriff in town, corrects that. So we are back. There is your man. Thomas Scheckter sits in 3rd. Dan Weldon leads. Tony Kanaan sits in 2nd. Dario Franchitti in 4th. We've got just over 35 laps to go. It's going to be a shootout in Kansas right here on ESPN. Dan Weldon continues to lead. Thomas Scheckter is giving chase, and just moments ago our Vince Welch reports on the radio, they're telling Dan Weldon, don't conserve, make them chase. We know Dan Weldon's going to have to pit probably around lap 175, and for Dan Weldon, could there be any sweeter words? Don't conserve?
Well, you know, there's some strategy going on out there right now, and one guy that's actually at the back of the lead lap, Sam Hornish Jr. is on a completely different strategy. We talked about strategy as one of the keys to the race right now. Penske loves to play strategy out. Will he have to pit? He seems like just sitting back there running a bit of a slower pace, maybe running a leaner fuel mixture and conserving fuel. You know, if there's one short yellow out here for 3 or 4 laps, that might just be enough to allow some of these guys to get to the end.
Interesting to see how it'll all play out as we take a look at our Toyota lap leaders, and my, how things have changed. Weldon now is your Toyota lap leader with 105, Scheckter with 49, and that is pretty much a dominating performance by the Honda and the Chevrolet as we check in with Dr. Jerry Punch.
Well, they had just given the call to this man, Thomas Scheckter. They said, go to the whip, full power, buddy. All the fuel you need. We'll pit on lap 190, but go chase him down. Go get that 2.6 car. So Scheckter just turned the dial, full fuel, full rich, and full power. See if he can catch him here in the final 30 laps.
Scott, as a former driver, you got to love to hear that phrase come across the radio.
Well, you love to hear it, but there's maybe a different strategy they could play out there. They know that Weldon's in front of them right now. He definitely has to pit because he didn't pit when everybody else did. And then if you're Thomas Scheckter right now and you have an opportunity to maybe just sit out there and conserve a little fuel and that yellow comes out like I mentioned, maybe you don't have to come in and pit.
Thomas Scheckter has a history of running out of gas. He did that in Motegi, Japan when he was leading with 2 laps to go. And he basically handed the win over to Dan Weldon. Now, Dan Weldon ran a great race all day, but great place at a great time. There you see the total pits. Last stop. Dan Weldon, we know, is going to have to come in. He hasn't pitted since 112. But can Scheckter make it from 136?
Well, they heard that he has to come in lap 190. That's just 10 laps short of race distance. And, you know, whoa, right now, see right in the middle of your screen right there, looks like Scott Sharp, who's due for some fuel here very shortly, is starting to slow up. And I'll tell you, that's just like trying to pass a couple of shopping carts down the middle of the aisle and running beside him, because I can't believe that nobody touched his wheels.
Vitor Mera got oh so close to the 8 Delphi of Scott Sharp right there on the center of your screen. Well, this is going to be interesting. I'll tell you what, if people down in the pit area, the technical engineers who are a whole lot smarter than me, are working the abacus right now as they are trying to figure out whether they can make it. And Danica Patrick, just so you know, has moved up now to 8th place. So Danica Patrick, who has been all over the board, is now in 8th position right now.
Sharp's outside, outside, still there. Sharp's outside, still there with Sharp, still there.
Ed Carpenter on the inside. Number 20 started 19th. Carpenter having a good run right now, running in 12th, part of the Vision Racing team. On the outside is 51. That is Alex Barron out of Menifee, California. And he is right next to his teammate, the Red Bull Cheever Racing of Patrick Carpentier.
And that group back there, and look who's caught up to them, was that Marlboro car sitting in the back of Sam Hornish Jr. With all those cars in front, he's definitely saving fuel.
So lap 174 brings in the leader. Dan Weldon will come in, so he will have his final pit stop of the day. The question is, can he get out quick enough to make up the distance, and can the rest of the field go to the very end? Well, you see him going to a tear-off. This is going to have to be perfect, Scott. He's going to have to do this in sub-10.
That was so painful at 60 miles an hour when everybody else is on the racetrack.
Vince?
No changes expected, just fuel and tires. Keep an eye on how long they fuel the car. Now the tires are on and the fuel is out immediately, so they're not worried about putting in anywhere near a full tank.
Full tank not needed to make it to the end of the distance. Great observation, Vince. And right now, some 4 fresh tires, 4 fresh canoes, as we call them, that will take him right to the end of the race.
So he is loaded up with about a half a tank of fuel. The Firestone Firehawks are fresh, and he is off and running. Now the strategy plays out. Have the folks at Andretti Green done their math right, and have they played this correctly? Your leader is Thomas Scheckter on board the number 4 Chevrolet. He is being followed by Tony Kanaan and Dario Franchitti. Who will win the race in Kansas? We'll step aside for our final break so that when we come back, we've got 20 laps of uninterrupted racing. We take you side by side back to Kansas after this. Welcome back to Kansas Speedway for ESPN's coverage of the Argent Mortgage Indy 300. Your leader, Thomas Scheckter, number 4, the Platinum Panther Pennzoil. He is out in front. Behind him is number 11. That is Tony Kanaan. Behind him is number 27, Dario Franchitti. They really are the fastest cars on the day. And there is Danica Patrick making some noise. She had the pole, has had problems all day, but she is now up to 5th place.
Up to 5th place and on the charge. What a bold move to actually go underneath her teammate. She's having a look at everybody right now. She's going to be setting her sights right now on Vitor Mera, the 17 car. But what a great drive on this tri-oval section in the front section to get underneath Darren Manning.
Guys, they told Danica Patrick about 15 laps ago to go full rich. They said she has to come in, and they said it's going to be early 190s. So be looking for Danica Patrick to make one more stop before this race is over.
Wow, this is going to make for a great 10-lap shootout. Now remember, Dan Weldon came in on lap 174, but Sam Hornish Jr. came in for that extra splash on 140. With the yellow flag, Scotty, in your calculations, get out your Canadian abacus. Can he make it to the finish?
Well, he'd obviously have to have a yellow, but it's a bit of a gamble that Penske is obviously going to take. and he's been sitting back there sort of starting to run some stronger laps now. It's a gamble for sure, but if that yellow comes out, you just never know. We talked about the last 10 laps of the race, and that's exactly what this looks like it's going to come down to. And this is the pressure time for the drivers. We talked about getting in off the racetrack as quickly as possible. A lot of pressure on the crew to turn around and just do a splash of fuel, and a lot of pressure on the drivers to get out and get back up to speed on their outlap. Let's go down to the pits to Vince Welsh.
That's exactly what they're trying to figure, Scott, and with 16 laps left, they're not quite sure, so they're kind of playing the guessing game at this point, too. Each lap as it goes by and they see what kind of fuel mileage Hornish is getting, it leads them a little closer to the answer, but they're not quite there yet either.
All right, thank you very much, Vince. With 15 laps to go at Kansas, Danica Patrick has joined the lead pack. It's Scheckter, Franchitti, Kanaan, Mira, and Patrick. And look at this. Danica Patrick now has a teammate just in front of her, just to the right of your screen. That is the blue and yellow of Vitor Mira.
You know, right now, Tony Kanaan is looking in his mirrors and objects in the mirror closer than they appear, and he says, she's back.
Why has the car come back to her so strongly, Scotty, in the last 50 laps? And look at this, Kanaan going to the inside. Scheckter said, I've tried that move before, no chance.
Closes the door and ends up slowing up Kanaan, and Franchitti ends up having the situation just move a little bit further forward. And see, now she's got a bit of a run because those guys lost the momentum up front, but really nowhere to go when it's side by side with two cars up in the front.
L2 this time by.
Lap 2, that means they want her in 2 laps. She should push the button on the radio to confirm.
Outside. Outside with Helio. Outside. Right rear. Outside. You're clear.
Great spotter work right there. Later you know that Helio Castroneves was on her outside. As soon as she said she was clear, she pulled up. Thomas Schechter's coming in. Sam Hornish Jr. has also come in, so I guess the folks at Penske said it's not going to work. Let's check in with Vince.
Well, they didn't want to take the chance. They wanted to make sure they could get to the end and splash and go, and you saw it on fuel. Doc?
The pit stop that could put him in victory lane. Thomas Scheckter in the Pennzoil Platinum car. They will not take tires, only fuel. All they need is about 4 seconds of fuel. 1, 2, 3, 4. They're going to point back down. Schechter's away. Here come the leaders flashing out of turn 4.
Tony Kanaan is your leader. Vitor Mira sits in second, and Danica Patrick sits in third place here at the Kansas Speedway. Can she work the magic in the pits? She will dip down below the line. Danica's coming in.
Following in her teammate, Vitor Mira has a bit more experience. He's just pulling away a little bit on this apron. That's what we talk about, the in-lap, the out-lap. A little bit more experience. 60 miles an hour now down pit road.
Jamie Little.
Guys, this must be a good pit stop. The team and crew has said that they've let her down all day. This must be flawless. She's going to come in for a splash and go and get back out, hopefully where she left off. 2, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds.
She did that perfectly.
Talk about composure for a 23-year-old. Here we go. Tony Kanaan is winding it up and bringing it around. Danica Patrick will join back in as they cycle through. Will it be Kanaan's day? He is the defending IndyCar Series champion, looking for a big win this year. Danica Patrick back on board.
Now it's Kanaan's turn right now. We talked about those in-out laps. He is the master at it, getting in quickly, getting out quickly. You brought up some fuel situations during the pits previously this year. Locks up the right front wheel to get the car down to 60 miles an hour.
Tony Kanaan brings it down. Let's check in with Vince Welch.
This is going to be a time to stop, so they only need to get a certain amount of fuel in, and they'll let the fueler know. They'll tap the fueler on the shoulder with that wooden stick to let him know that it's time. There you saw it.
With all that technology, it's a wooden stick that cues the man that's fueling Tony Kanaan as he gets back out. So for now, it is Buddy Rice, Danica Patrick's teammate. He was sitting in second, and he led after the first lap. Buddy Rice is your leader. He was the winner last year at Kansas Speedway. Can he hold on? He still has to pit.
And he knows that. You know, he's sort of gambling on that yellow staying out as long as possible. The question is, if he had a yellow, is there enough fuel in the tank for him to be actually able to get to the end? Coming out of 4 right now, right behind Rice. Those guys are stacking up 3 deep as everybody's starting to meet up with each other after the pit stops. You see Thomas Schechter right now in the platinum silver car, chasing the car that we're riding on board with right now, 27 of Dario Franchitti. And this is nothing held back right now. 100% fuel, maximum horsepower, running the engine as hard as you possibly can. You will not want to take your foot off the throttle whatsoever. You do not want to actually low the engine RPMs. You want to keep it up in the horsepower band.
On board with Thomas Schechter. We've got 5 laps to go at Kansas Speedway. And here's the race. Buddy Rice has decided to come in. He cannot make it to the finish. This is the battle for the lead. Dan Weldon and Vitor Meira. There's Tony Kanaan just coming into your picture as they will cycle through.
Okay, let's go to slot 1. We'll just stay there.
Buddy Rice on pit road. He tried to stretch the fuel, and they came up just 5 laps shot. A time stop 3.3. He's away.
Here come the leaders out of 3 and 4s. Buddy Rice tries to exit as quick as possible, but he's got to keep it under 60 miles an hour. Dan Weldon comes around. Tony Kanaan goes to the outside. There's Vitor Meira. Well, is it going to be an Andretti Green shootout, or will Rahal Letterman get their man in there?
Remember last year, Buddy Rice won this event, how painful that is for him to have to come in. But Vitor Meira was so close and finished second. You know, you certainly remember that situation. Right now, he's looking any place he can to maybe slip underneath the guys in front and have a look to win this event. Here he goes.
3 laps to go. Weldon has the inside position, the number 26 red and white car. On the outside, his teammate, the 11, the green and white of Tony Kanaan. Behind them is Vitor Meira, number 17, part of the Rahal Letterman group.
Vitor is out of luck. Both those guys are not going to move from the line that they're in, and not even team orders, just being smart race car drivers are going to go side by side. We talked about 10 laps to go. We talked about the last lap, and we talked about the last turn. This race, Todd, will come down to the last lap and definitely the last turn coming out of 4 to see who's going to win it.
2 laps to go. This is oddly reminiscent of last year when Buddy Rice and Vitor Meira had the exact same position on the track. Danica Patrick has shuttled back to 9th place, so it was a costly pit stop, but it all comes down to this. With the white flag out, who will win at Kansas?
Look at this grandstand. Everybody standing up and not an inch given. Weldon trying to push Kanaan up. Kanaan trying to push Weldon down. And the guy that's going to play a role in this is probably Vitor Meira. Who will he side on to sort of help slipstream?
As they come out of turn number 4, it's Dan Weldon on the inside. Tony Kanaan, his teammate. Vitor Meira tries to slip to the low side. Can he get it done? No! It's Tony Kanaan at the line. Tony Kanaan, his 5th career win, his first win since Nashville last year, and this is the 5th win for Andretti Green. Darren Manning, I'm sure, Dan Weldon has a very bad taste in his mouth right now because it looked like he had it all done, but it almost looks like, Scott, he was trying to cover Vitor Meira's run.
Well, he certainly tried to push Weldon up, tried to push Kanaan up coming off of turn 4. How many times have we seen the high line, though? Always the fast line out of turn 4 coming down. We talked about that last turn. It always comes down to these mile-and-a-half tracks, that last turn. Look at that situation. Those guys, I think, are even bumping each other.
You want to talk about power? Andretti Green gets 1, 2, and 4 with Vitor Meira, breaking up the trifecta as we check in with Vince Welch.
Wow, what a happy group down here. Michael Andretti and Kim Green, congratulations. What a shootout. I guess if you're going to have a shootout, it's nice to have your 2 guys doing it.
Well, at least you know you're going to do it fairly. But, you know, I'm pretty disappointed in 2 other drivers that were below the white line quite often. And that, to me, is a penalty. I'm disappointed in that. But, you know, we worked hard this weekend and focused hard on our race setups and great pit stops, great strategy by everybody on the team. And very proud. TK's been wanting to win badly. Seen his teammate win a few. And so, you know, just a great effort.
Michael, I know that the team, as Kim mentioned, worked hard all weekend because this team had struggled, uncharacteristically so, during the course of the weekend. What was the key in getting all the setups turned around to have good cars today?
Well, it was more, you know, we didn't have the speed, but we had good feeling cars, good setup cars for the race, and we knew that, so we weren't too worried about it. But, you know, they both did a hell of a job. I mean, Jesus, and that pass there in the end, I mean, TK not giving up. He never gives up. And Dan doing a hell of a job. I mean, it's just a great team effort.
AGR 1-2 today in Kansas.
And the fans at Kansas Speedway are treated to double donuts. You can't even get that at Krispy Kreme as we get a look at Tony Kanaan, your winner today What a close finish, 12 1,000ths of a second, the 6th closest finish in IRL history. And look at Vitor Meira, the white line. I'm sure that's going to be talked about at the next drivers' meeting.
Well, he's still third, but if he had passed either one of those guys, it certainly wouldn't have counted. But just to tell you the momentum you have coming off of 4, he's up high, he drives down the banking on the racetrack, probably has a good 3 or 4 miles an hour on those guys, but they weren't going to leave him any room at the bottom.
So Vitor Meira comes up just a little bit short. Look how close this is. At 210 miles an hour by about 3 feet. Tony Kanaan's already got his fist up in the air celebrating. It's the Andretti Green team that'll be celebrating tonight in Kansas. When we come back, we'll talk to our winners and all the key players. Stay with us here on ESPN. Welcome you back to Kansas Speedway at the conclusion of the Argent Mortgage Indy 300. Your winner, Tony Kanaan, as the near capacity crowd makes their way for the exit on this 4th of July weekend. And we send it down to a very happy victory lane. That's where our Dr. Jerry Punch has caught up with a very fast Tony Kanaan.
And Tony climbing out of the car, getting hugs. That was Daniele a moment ago, his wife. He gave a big hug. Michael Andretti was here. All the 7-Eleven crew hugging him. But guys, set him up. Big gulps for everybody. TK, what a job today. Congratulations on a wild finish here.
Yeah, I like that. You know, wild with my teammate. I knew he was going to be clean to me. So, oh, man, I feel so great. I mean, a long time. It was almost a year. It will be a year in Nashville. So, very happy. Happy for the team. Happy for Dan. We're getting solid 1st and 2nd in the championship. So, that's what we need. I mean, we need this team to win the championship again.
What was the key yesterday in qualifying? A car was not really to your liking. What made the difference today and made this car a winner?
Well, we had a good race car. I just couldn't find the speed on qualifying. I worked on race setup the first 2 sessions yesterday. So, I mean, I knew I had a good car. So, I mean, we just got to work on our qualifying setup for sure.
I know you were watching where you were going, but also your mirrors. And take a look. We're going to show you the close finish here. 12 1,000ths of a second coming out of turn 4. You and your teammate Weldon. And look at Vitor coming to the inside.
Yeah, look at that. Well, it was close, huh?
Oh, Vitor keeps coming. Watch this.
The bigger nose window.
Hey, Tony Kanaan, congratulations. I know it's been a long time coming. This has got to turn some of that bad luck early on around.
Well, it's not bad luck. It's definitely not being as good as last year because last year was perfect. So we're having a normal season, I would say. So I'm very happy.
Tony Kanaan, reigning series champion, picks up win number 5 in his career here in Victory Lane at Kansas. Let's check out again where Jamie is standing by with Danica Patrick.
Well, Danica Patrick prevails unscathed once again for another top 10 finish. Hard fought. Danica started on the pole and had the target on your back right off the start. Take us through what happened.
Well, on the start, there's nothing I could have done. I was put to the floor. The gears were a little off, so I couldn't run 4th gear, and 5th gear was so long that everybody just passed me. I was flat on the power. There's nothing more as a driver than you can do than that. And then after that, it was just a matter of the wind picked up from like 6 to 12 miles an hour today across. So everybody was getting understeer in 3 and 4. So I thought my car was better off than a lot of cars. And, you know, so we were kind of chipping our way through. And, you know, we had a little glitch early on. The engine was starting to cut out at the very beginning. So we had to turn the traction control off, so that made the pit exits a little bit slower. But, you know, we lost a lot of time in the pits and, you know, dropped back far. So, you know, it's frustrating when that happens. But, you know, nevertheless, it's a team effort. And, you know, overall it's okay. I think we were down in 15th at one point today. So, you know, it would have been nice to finish up front where I think the car was fast enough to finish. But, you know, all I can say is I fought so hard today, and I raced side by side virtually for 200 laps. So, did what I could.
Your crew is so passionate. We hear him on the radio apologizing to you for the slow pit stops. I know you guys work together so strongly. I know each race is something new for you. What did you learn today? I know you had a couple close saves.
You know, I think that, you know, today was a good job of everything kind of coming together, figuring out the car early and working with it. So, you know, today I learned the comfort zones of side by side, and and just better how to set people up, because you know, it didn't mean that my car is completely settled behind people, but you know, I think that I was able to run very, very low and still keep some wing on the car by having a little bit of clean air on the very bottom. So I was like on the white line, which I think I might have been, you know, one of the only people that was running there. So that's kind of what saved me today. So it's just a matter of learning how to set people up and trying not to get frustrated.
Well, look how beautiful this girl still is after 300 miles. Danica Patrick, another top 10 finish, finishing 9th. Vince?
Third straight top 5 finish for this man, Thomas Schechter. He led 63 laps here today. Now, Thomas, I was in the driver's meeting today when Brian Barnhart said absolutely no racing below the white line. And I know I saw you and Vitor Miro both in there in that driver's meeting, but both of you were below the white line today. Tell us about your situation with the line.
Well, I think if you were listening as well, he said don't push people down below the white line as well. And I think, you know, a lot of people are driving their mirrors, and you know, as soon as they saw I got a run, they would come down and try push me, and I wasn't going to lift. And you know, if I had to use a little bit under the white line, then so be it. But you know, I think if they left the gap open, I could have got through. But you know, great job, Penzel, Chevrolet. I have to thank the team. I
think we've got maybe some video of that white line run, and also you had a moment out there earlier in the race where you almost lost it.
Yeah, I seem to be you know, having a lot of.
Take us through the restart.
Well, we had a good start. I got on it early, and then, you know, just Kanan, I think, sees me, starts to come down when they were a little bit higher up, and, you know, I wasn't going to lift. We had a good restart, I think, got us into the top 3, and, you know, put us in a good position. You know, we didn't have a car to win today, but we brought it back home and brought it 5th, so we...
Watch this moment here.
Well, yeah, you see how as soon as I start to come down, he came down as well. You know, he left at least one car length open there. It's very close, and that's racing, and I think that's what the fans wanted to see. It was a great finish, you know, Vitor using a little bit of the white line as well.
And that's also at the same time, as you said, part of racing, but the vision from side to side isn't great in these race cars, and that's where the spotters come through.
No, for sure, but it's all the guys I'm racing with know where I'm going and know when I got to run, and they know what to do, so... You know, just it's racing, and it was a good racing day. We brought the car back home, and I just have to thank Panther Racing, give me a good car the whole day.
Yeah, another good day for Schechter, Panther Racing, and Chevrolet Power on the July 4th weekend.
All right, thank you very much, Vince. When we come back, we will wrap things up from the Kansas Speedway. Your winner, Tony Kanaan. We'll be back with more after this short break from Kansas Speedway just outside of Kansas City.
Why?
Welcome back to Kansas Speedway and the conclusion of the Argent Mortgage Indy 300 here on ESPN, where Tony Kanaan reigns supreme in the heartland of America. Once again, Todd Harris along with Scott Goodyear. What a race. I have to say, though, I'm a bit surprised. I really thought it was going to be the Ray Hall Letterman day.
You know, they sort of dominated when they got here, and with that qualifying, impressive as it was, you had to think that they had everything together. But you know something? The depth of the team of Andretti Green to go back last night and go with the engineers, they must have had a big powwow late in the night to come back and bring out some cars that are very competitive. I mean, give them credit. They did a great job.
So Tony Kanaan wins here, and he told Dr. Jerry Punch, it's been a long time and a long time coming. As Tony Kanaan picks up the victory, now we head to Nashville, a place where he got his last victory last year. So does Tony Kanaan turn it 2 times.
You know, in a very tight racetrack, 1.3 miles, very narrow, really back down to handling of the race car, not necessarily just horsepower. So watch for guys to resurface again like we saw at Richmond. You know, the guys like Andretti Green that were running strong there, but you also have to look at the guys like Penske and also Chip Ganassi's group. It's going to be a different racetrack.
Should be exciting night race in Nashville in 2 weeks. So Brazilian reigns supreme in Kansas. And with another Brazilian driver, here's Dr. Jerry Punch.
And Vitor Mira, 4th top 5 of the year. And Vitor, last lap, what a scramble. What happens to that white line on the last lap? Did it sort of disappear?
What white line? I don't know. Well, last lap is last lap. I mean, I had nowhere to go. And I remembered actually Homestead when I tried outside when we were 3 wide, and I tried outside. And that was with Tony also. Didn't quite work. And now I tried inside also, inside here. If I could keep my foot down, coming inside is kind of downhill. So that was my only shot. I mean, I tried outside on Weldon when was only me and him, but I couldn't quite make it. But you know, I mean, it was a 3rd place, and we were running a little behind for the whole day. I think the Menards John's Manville crew is, today they made the difference with no mistakes and everything. So we are, no mistakes, that's what we want.
All right, Vitor Meira finishing third, fourth top 5 of the year. Let's head in. Scott Sharp, our 6th place finisher, standing by with Vince.
Yeah, Scott Sharp, over the course of the last 5 races, there have not been many better than this team. 4 top 7 finishes in the last 5 races, and you had a good one again today. A little tight at times, but was there a chance where you felt like you had an opportunity to win?
Well, we started off a bit tight early, but the Delphi guys just gave me some great pit stops today. We improved the car, got real racy for a while there, got up there. Seems like with our whole little last splash that we did, sort of got a little bit off sequence, but hey, we brought home a top 6 finish, some good points, and that's what we need to just keep doing. So I'm really pleased about it.
Scott Sharp, his first year with this Fernandez team, and it's really coming together. They have put up some good results of late, and looking forward to going to Nashville.
Well, a win from Tony Kanaan is a win for Dan Weldon and the Andretti Green stable. He comes in second. He led 112 laps, and that means he secures his first place position in the points even farther. Take us through the run today, Dan. Of course, we all thought you were going to be there at the end. Where did your teammate get you?
You know, it's just one of those things. You see that a lot on these super speedway type tracks, and you know, to be honest, I've not lost a race by so little, so it's kind of disappointing. I'm just I love Tony to bits more than anybody, but probably not as much as his wife. But it's a shame to lose, but it's great for the team. Another 1-2, and Dario was 4th, so we were strong considering we were diabolical in qualifying. But you know, we still need to find some speed, because certainly Scheckter has a quicker car than us right now. And you know, Hornish, if he's not in traffic, is pretty good too. So we've got some work to do, but it's a good finish nonetheless.
Going back to qualifying yesterday, you said your car just got off the truck and it was slow. Nothing you guys can do. Where did you find the speed today?
I don't necessarily think I found much. I think some other people lost theirs in their attempts to make a good race car. So. Like I say, the championship is so competitive right now. You can't afford to be slow, and I mean, we're not really slow, but we've got to keep pushing to stay ahead of these guys, because I mean, you've got the best championship in the world with the best teams in the world, so it's difficult.
All right, we're going to Nashville next. Things got a little interesting there for you last year. What are we going to see?
Yeah, me and Buddy had a little incident last year, but yeah, I think you're going to see the same as here. I think you're going to see everybody's pushing the limit so much now, pit stops, everything. So you're going to see another tight one, that's for sure. But I'd like to win by just a little bit over maybe TK again.
All right, Dan Weldon is the man to beat. He's the current series champion and, of course, the Indy 500 champion. Todd?
Thank you, Jamie. Well, it's the second closest 1-2-3 finish in IndyCar Series history. An impressive performance by that man, Tony Kanaan. As we take a look at our final results, Kanaan gets the win. Weldon, Meira, Franchitti, Thomas Scheckter, Scott Sharp ran out the top 6. Darren Manning had a great run in 7th for Target Chip Ganassi. Elio Castroneves for Roger Penske. And there you see Danica Patrick in 9th, Buddy Rice in 10th, Sam Hornish Jr. They gambled, Scotty. Came back kind of to bite him. He finishes in 12th place.
Well, that's the sort of risk that you take, but if it had been a yellow, maybe it would have worked out perfect for them. But, you know, Penske always pushes the envelope, really, and having a situation with strategy. But sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.